best I can do with it. Okay, the announcements,
We do the prayer and pledge first, or
what?
prayer and pledge?
Oh, yeah, excuse me, man. I forgot all about it. Mr. Francis, you lead us in the pledge, or the prayer first?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay. Let's all bow our heads. Our Father, our God, we come again today in service of our God and our country. We just ask your blessings on this meeting today, that we might all provide leadership and guidance for the people of the state of Louisiana. Thank you for this great opportunity that you give us. Thank you for forgiving us and making us right with you because of Jesus Christ. In his name we pray. Amen.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, Commissioners. I think Catherine has an announcement about, we have, I think, a couple of dockets, or at least one that's going to be deferred.
Hey,
We do. We have Exhibit 14 is being deferred today. And then under Exhibit 24, the discussion is being deferred today as well. And I believe we're moving Exhibit 13 up to the front after we handle the elections of officers this year.
That's correct.
Okay.
you have a question?
No, Devontae has an announcement.
You have something to say? Yes, sir. Thank you, I can't hear real well.
No, you're not. Make sure the microphone is on. Foster, is his mic on?
Just a second. I'll make sure it is. It is.
All righty, there we go.
Is it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a few announcements about the staff in District 3 that I wanted to make. First, I wanted to give a special recognition and thank Jarrett Reese, who has been serving as the consumer specialist for the past year under my office, but previously served under Commissioner Bossier as his technical assistant. Jared will be departing our office at the end of this week, and he has served tirelessly to me and to Commissioner Bossier and to this commission. So I wanted to make sure that we went on the record to thank him for his years of service to this body and to this commission, as well as wish him, his wife, his little baby, the best in his new endeavors, and we hope that we cross paths with Jared once again. So Jared, I just wanted to thank you for your service to my office and for your service here at the commission. Mr. Chairman, I also would like to ask that the commission keep in special prayer my chief of staff and executive assistant, Charlotte. As many of you know, Charlotte has been pregnant and has gone into labor a little bit early, about 7 weeks early at this point. She's currently in the hospital and expects delivery probably by the end of the week. So I know she's watching, so we just wanted to say, Charlotte, I love you. We are praying for you. We hope everything is safe with your delivery of baby Landry, and we can't wait to welcome you and baby Landry back to the commission, hopefully in a few weeks. So I just wanted to have everyone just uplift Charlotte and her family in prayer as they go through this delivery. And last, I would like to introduce and welcome a new member of our staff, my enforcement agent, Cedric Anderson, Jr. Cedric is currently a 3L student at Southern Law. He formerly was a Congressional Black Caucus Institute intern and worked actually at Entergy in their headquarters and recently joined our staff about a month ago. So I wanted to formally recognize him and welcome him to the District 3 office and to the Louisiana Public Service Commission. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Francis? Okay. I'm gonna hit everybody's mic.
Thank you,
then
Mr. Chairman.
y'all get with it.
I also have a staff change.
Thanks, Tom.
First, I want to compliment and congratulate the patriotic work of Janice Perkins. Was head of my staff, chief of staff, 24 years on the Public Service Commission staff, served under 5 different commissioners, and she's going to be sorely missed. But we prayed, and God sent us a great replacement, a man, Eric Duplichat. Eric, stand up, please.
Well, I usually weigh 200.
All right, there you go. And Eric is, he comes to us with 20 years of experience working for the state of Louisiana. He's probably given a speeding ticket to 2 or 3 of you. Eric was the captain of the state police in Lafayette, and I think he's going to make a great assistant for our District 4. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else have anything to say?
I have one staff one. If you notice, there's their young lady sitting next to Catherine. Emma Bonney is a 3rd year at St. Joseph's Academy. She's shadowing me today. This is their day of shadowing, so she picked a good one. But Emma is not alone. I understand there are quite a few other St. Joseph students who are shadowing others here today. So I'd ask you all to stand, including you, Emma, so we can recognize you.
Mrs. Scametta.
And a belated birthday greetings to our Executive Secretary, Brandon Fry, who doesn't look a day over 78.
Thank
Congratulations.
We're going to take energy efficiency number 1, take it first. There's a lot of people here that would
Yes,
like
sir,
to.
we're gonna do the election of officers first and run through that,
Okay.
and then energy efficiency will
Okay.
be the first up after that. So moving on to exhibit number 2 is the election of the 2024 chair of the Public Service Commission.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Commissioner Mike Francis as chairman.
Second.
And do we do it separately? I'd like to.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
we'll
should
do
go
a
ahead and
vote
vote
on
on
this
that then.
Yeah.
So motion by Commissioner Green and seconded by Commissioner Scrumetta to nominate Commissioner Francis as chair for 2024.
Yes.
No objection? Hearing none.
Well, thank
Accepted.
you. Thank you all for another opportunity to serve in 2024, and I want to thank Commissioner Campbell for a great year in 2023. Thank you very much for your service.
I want to echo that. Commissioner Campbell and I go way back, and I might get a little choked up on this because he worked with my dad, and Dad's getting close. So, but I think my dad did a good job of let's just tackle issues together, and it's never about a personal attack. And I think that when we're up here, we should remind ourselves of that. And so I appreciate your leadership and being able to work with you. Thanks for a good job.
Okay, the floor is open for the nomination for vice chairman. Are there any nominations?
Yeah, I nominate Commissioner Devontae.
I'll second.
Commissioner Green nominates Commissioner Lewis for vice chairman, seconded by Commissioner Campbell. Are there any objections to that? Hearing none, congratulations, Commissioner Lewis, vice chairman. The floor is open for election of a representative for the OMS, Organization of MISO States. And I'd like to nominate Commissioner Scametta.
Yeah, I'd like to second that. I think Commissioner Scobetta's got a lot of intelligence in this area. Sometimes it may be outside of the box, and we may or may not agree with it, but it's his mind is needed there, and we need him there. And so, if you would consider it, that would be great.
Okay, we have a nomination by the chairman and a second by Commissioner Green for Eric Scametta. Are there any other discussions or any objections to this nomination? Sounds like it's unanimous. Congratulations, Commissioner Scametta.
Thank you.
Okay, the floor is open for ERSC representative. Do I have any nominations? I'd like to, the chairman would like to nominate Commissioner Craig Green for this position at ERSC.
I'll second.
Nomination.
Seconded by Commissioner Lewis.
I didn't hear it.
Are there any discussions or any comments? Any objections? Looks like it's unanimous, and congratulations, Commissioner Green.
Thank you.
The floor is open for election for SPP representative, Southwest Power Pool. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Francis, our chairman, for the SPP representative.
I'll second.
Commissioner Green nominates Chairman Francis, seconded by Commissioner Campbell. Are there any discussions? Any objections? Well, thank you all for that honor, and we'll be glad to serve again at SPP. Thank you. Okay, I think we're going to turn it over to Ms. Catherine Bowman.
Yes, sir. So we are moving to exhibit number 13, which is docket number R31106. It's the commission's rulemaking to study the possible development of financial incentives for the promotion of energy efficiency by jurisdictional electric and gas utilities. Is a discussion and possible vote on final phase 2 rules, and it was exhibit 3 last month.
You can do it.
This docket has had a lengthy history spanning 13 years, and it was initiated by publication in the Commission's official bulletin, with numerous parties intervening and several requesting interested party status. After several years of collaboration, the Commission approved a voluntary energy efficiency program in September of 2013, known as the Quick Start Program, which included a 2-phased implementation approach. From approximately November of 2013 until October of 2014, staff and investor-owned utilities and interested parties worked through various components of the Quick Start implementation, including approval of program design, rate riders, as well as an LCFC recovery mechanism. The IOUs began implementation of energy efficiency within their respective territories and have complied with the Commission's Quick Start order throughout the years. On November 3rd of 2016, staff filed notice of Phase 2 rulemaking, which was published in the Commission's official bulletin to allow for additional intervention. At the May 17, 2023 B&E, the Commission approved a directive that directed staff to publish proposed Phase 2 rules no later than May 26 of 2023 that contemplated the creation of a Commission-led statewide energy efficiency program. The directive also had a goal of approving Phase 2 rules no later than October 23 of the B&E. Since initiating those Phase 2 rules, staff has conducted 2 technical conferences and has issued 5 drafts of Phase 2 rules. And since that directive, staff has worked through numerous rounds of comments from a diverse group of stakeholders and filed the final Phase 2 rules on December 1st of 2023. The Phase 2 rules are based on a statewide administrative model, but focuses on minimizing the amount of administrator oversight that traditional third-party administrative models typically include. Further, the Phase 2 rule attempts to limit costs that customers pay, and while allowing utilities to recover direct costs incurred and a component of LCFC, the Phase 2 rules do not allow for utility incentives. The proposed recovery of LCFC is limited to those losses that directly impact the utility's earnings bandwidth and allows for recovery only after a true-up at the end of the program year cycle. Staff recommends that the commission adopt the final Phase 2 rules filed into the record on December 1st, 2023, and I have a motion by Commissioner Green.
Yes, can you please read it?
I move that we accept staff's recommendation and adopt the final Phase 2 rules filed December 1st, 2023, with Section F4, the utility cost recovery, removed and replaced with the following. Utilities are allowed to recover their direct cost in facilitating the collection and retention of the EER through the utility's normal O&M recovery mechanism. Because commission jurisdictional utilities predominantly utilize a formula rate plan that accounts for yearly under-earnings should they exist, and for those jurisdictional utilities not currently on an FRP similarly can seek rate treatment to account for any under-earning year over year. Participating utilities will not be allowed recovery of any alleged lost contribution to fixed costs due to implementation of the Commission's energy efficiency program. Any under-earnings of a utility will be addressed holistically in their respective FRP or alternative yearly rate-making process. Furthermore, nothing in this rule prohibits a utility from voluntarily implementing their own energy efficiency program for their customers. Such programs would be supplemental to the Commission's energy efficiency program and is not mandatory. Should a utility implement their own utility energy efficiency program, they may seek administrative and other program costs through normal rate-making processes. This type of program would not be in lieu of the energy efficiency program designed herein.
A motion to accept, motion to accept my motion.
Read.
I do have a further motion that I would like to read in, if that's okay with Commissioner Green.
Before you read Commissioner Lewis's, I just want to offer opposition to the motion.
And as such, I think I need a second for mine.
Yeah, I
even
think
for
so
that.
too.
You do.
Well, I'll second Commissioner Green's.
So now that we have that, do we vote on that prior to hearing his subsequent motion?
Actually, he does a substitute
Well,
first and then vote.
Well, I don't know if you, Commissioner Lewis, are you looking to substitute Commissioner Green's, or are you looking to possibly amend?
Mine is a completely different,
So then, I think
Motion.
that would mean that we vote on this and then take his motion up.
that's fine with me.
Is that right?
Yep, that's good with me.
Is that Robert's rules, though? Correct?
I don't think that's the way,
Yeah,
if it's a
well-
different motion entirely outside the scope of the agenda item, then it could be
Yes, that was,
subject
so,
to the next month if it's not part of this. But if it's part of this particular motion associated with the issue at hand, then it's either a substitute motion that needs to be taken first.
I would,
So you might have to look at it that way.
I hear that, and I think since mine is on a completely different topic, it's an additional amendment, which therefore means it could be taken up in procedure, but if we want to combine,
But
since you were
if
good
it-
with mine, I'm fine.
Because if it's a different subject and a different topic, then it might be a problem under the commission rules that
Why
has
don't
to
you
be
accept
taken
one
up
and
at
accept another?
but it would have to be then done by unanimous consent to be brought up.
Well, in that case, I think what we should do is add his to mine,
We could do it, yeah, we could
You can
make it one
combine,
joint
combine
motion.
one motion.
And you'd
yeah,
have to
so
have a vote to
if
amend.
Commissioner Lewis wants to read out his, and if you want to accept those as modifications to your
That you
motion,
can
then
do.
that'll be the motion on the table.
So just tell us what to do. He'll read it
I'll-
and
I'll read
then
it.
I'll
You'll read
motion.
it, then you'll accept those, if you're good with them, to
Okay.
your original motion and restate your original motion.
That's correct.
So, thank you, Mr. Green, Commissioner Green. I would like to move that we accept staff's recommendation and adopt the final Phase 2 rules filed December 1st, 2023 with Section 3E2 revised as follows. The EE administrator shall ensure that 15% of budget spending is allocated to low-income residents as defined in the Phase 2 rules. Where possible, the EE administrator may target projects implementation spending neighborhood-wide if a specific area is shown to have over 50% income qualifying customers, and the EE administrator can identify a need for the EE projects. Measures and/or programs specifically designed for low-income customers are not required to separately pass cost-effectiveness screening, but the portfolio of all programs must be cost as a whole. And the EE administrator shall also ensure that at least 10% of budget spending is allocated to rental properties. In program design, the administrator shall consider how best to protect renters in billing arrangements and to facilitate project execution in low-income residencies such as apartment buildings and multi-dwellings in particular.
Point of order question, is this subject to review and vote by the commission for approval? Or is this something that an administrator would have full authority to do without commission approval?
the commission would be voting at this point to put it in the rules, so we would be giving it authority.
So the commission would not have authority at any future point over the actions of the administrator?
Wouldn't it be under the third-party administrator?
It would be under the third-party administrator, the same way that all of the procedures would be reviewed by the commission. So what all this amendment does is allocate 25% of the budget spending to low-income customers and rental properties.
But what you're saying is, and just trying to clarify that, and I'm trying to review because I don't have, the problem I have is I've neither received a copy
You
of
received this
either-
yesterday.
Yeah,
My staff
no,
emailed this
Let
to
me
you.
finish my statement, please, Commissioner. I did not receive a copy of Commissioner Green's motion. I did receive a copy of yours. But what I'm saying is that your motion is overbroad and nonspecific about the topics other than a general statement as to what the concept of what that 15% would be. And under the general idea of what the budget proposal would be somewhere around, I think somewhere around $15 million for landlords and somewhere around $27 million to low-income area projects with non-specific statements as to what these projects are, what they would be. And now what you're saying is that the administrator would have the authority to make determination of what that spend would be on and not the commission. And I just wanted to clarify that that's what you're saying.
Well, that's
Can I
not what
ask-
I'm saying,
can I
and
ask,
that's also incorrect. What this does is just a simple budget allocation. We still have to review an RFP from the administrator. We still have multiple other decisions. All that my motion and amendment does is that, say, when we create the budget and the administrator presents the budget, that 25% of that budget allocation should include 15% to low-income customers and 10% to renters. We still have authority. I mean, now, if you don't want to support low-income customers and
don't-
renters, that's
don't-
on you,
you
but
know,
that's
can-
why my
you
motion is
can-
on the table.
You can read whatever you want into it, but my question, I'm going to ask the, Ms. Bowman, read back the content of the motion expressly regarding the issue associated with the authority of the administrator associated in this motion.
The administrator shall ensure that at least 15% of the budget is allocated to low-income residents. Is that what you're indicating?
What, exactly as Commissioner Lewis read it into the record.
So that's sentence 1. Sentence 2 is where possible, the EE administrator may target project implementation and spending neighborhood-wide if a specific area is shown to have over 50% income qualifying customers, and the EE administrator can identify a need for EE projects.
So, yeah, because my question is, the administrator is to administrate, the commission is to identify programs and projects. So the administrator is to, from my understanding, the administrator and the manager, and the concept under this yet-to-be-determined program is to review, and as Foster has put it, to grade report cards. But all authority over all projects and all issues associated with this program are to be determined by the commission's vote, because the commission is the only one who is going to make determining factors associated with how money is placed. We're not going to put authority over money into the hands of third parties. That has been my understanding throughout the entire discussion of this process with you
Correct.
as staff counsel. Am I correct in that?
You are correct in that, Commissioner, and I do not want to put words in Commissioner Lewis's.
I'm not asking you to put words in his mouth. I'm asking you, because I want to make sure that what we are talking about is maintaining the plenary authority of the commission, that the administrator is simply there to administrate, is not there to identify. That's the purpose of the commission in their elected positions, is to identify, discuss, direct the administrator to go and do the job. It's the same thing under the public entities portion of this program, is the commissioners identify and tell the administrator what to do. We are not granting authority to an administrator or a public manager to go forth and identify and allocate. That's the authority of the commission to do. So they're there to, like Foster said, grade the report card that the project itself accomplished the task. And I think I'm in the adequate understanding of what this is supposed to do. And am I off base on this?
So you are right, there's two components. The grading of the report cards comes with the EM&V contractor who ensures that the programs that were implemented and do have savings targets. You are correct also, the commission retains its plenary authority over this third-party administrator and over energy efficiency programs. If this passes and if we hire an administrator, they are to meet with each one of you and determine where the goals are and what programs should be
That's not what
implemented.
this amendment does. This amendment vitiates that authority over these particular types of problems. And the problem is, it grants the authority to the administrator to select, identify, allocate certain funds that should be limited to the commission's authority to grant, allocate. So if this commission determines that a portion of North Baton Rouge deserves to have certain activities done, and we identify projects that need to be, fortunately we vote on it, that's fine. If we identify areas of Rapides, Caddo, Washita, Jefferson, wherever it needs to go, then we do it. It's not the authority of an administrator to identify and allocate funds. It's the authority of the commission to identify and allocate funds. Now, if the administrator, as part of this, is to identify potential projects and present them to the commission for a vote to make a determinative element of what needs to be done, then the commission votes on it, that's one thing. But not for them to do it and then show up, this is what we did, and, congratulations, that's what we did, if that's not what the commission wanted to do in the first place. We are not here to turn over elected constitutional authority to a third-party contractor who's not in that authority. The unelected government is not part of what we're here to do. So, that's what this seems on this motion to do, is to create a third-party unelected authority to handle money that they don't have any legal authority to do unless we're looking here to grant it, and it's not what it should be. So it should be that this motion should be here to say that the administrator will review projects and present them to the commission for a vote. And that's what my concerns are about this particular motion. Not that it creates the potential for helping low-income families or low-income areas. That's one thing. The issue about the helping landlords with 10%, I think, is bad medicine, because all we're going to do is create a potential cause for, helping landlords, and landlords are heartless people, and they will take and get helped, and then they're going to turn around and they're going to hurt their tenants by raising rents, because that's just the nature of their beast, okay? They're going to create better facilities, and they're going to say, well, we deserve more money. And there's some discussion over BlackRock and Vanguard taking advantage of these programs to, as they move into low-income housing, to take advantage of these programs to create mechanisms to access government money and then take advantage of the public through it. So, and I don't want to see the general public in Louisiana funding these resources for people who are landlords who don't need the money to create these successful transitions to energy efficiency. If we want to help people in communities, I think the first part of his motion is correct. But I do think the second part's questionable. But I do really concern myself over an administrator's authority to identify, create, and fund when that's not their purpose under the entire previous element of the energy efficiency program, which is for them to come to the commission and get approved for how much money that they're allowed to, come and say that the commission gets to say, well, we want to do it, we don't want to do it, and then we vote on it. That's my problem with this.
Mr. Chairman, all of this was my starting, and I just want to make sure, with all the language that we have, it's my understanding that the commission will still have oversight and authority over the third-party administrator.
That is correct.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Yeah, but not the way this is written.
I just asked that
I
question.
understand, but you asked a question.
You probably see it differently,
Well,
but that's fine.
you asked a question, do we have oversight over the administrator? Yes, we do. But this motion is giving the administrator specific authority over this outside the original authority that we have over the administrator.
I
So
understand that's the way that
it's-
you think it is, but
Well,
I just asked that question for clarification, so we're probably not going to come to an agreement on it.
You've asked a very broad question, and I'm just saying it's not what you think it is. And I'm concerned about it for the general authority of the commission to do this, because I do think it creates a cloud over the questionable authority of the commission over this administrator. I think it's clarified by just changing the motion to say that the commission retains full authority over the projects, instead of saying that the administrator identifies and authorizes.
So
That's the issue.
perhaps, is it, what, Commissioner Lewis, if we added
I
somewhere
would
at the
object to
end?
that. I think it's unnecessary. I think the commissioner's point is he doesn't like an administrator, which is perfectly fine, vote against the rule. But as you mentioned and as we clarified, we still have authority. So these argumentations are, in my view, against the underlying rule, which we haven't gotten to that debate yet, and we can, more than it is. I mean, I heard a long filibuster of nothing that was substantively in the rule. And so I would not allow that amendment, and I would object to it if we wanted to include it.
Would the commissioners accept moving this over to the February meeting so we could clear this up, for this new addition? Would the commissioners agree to do that?
No.
Okay,
There are people here, we have pushed this off
we can,
for too long.
still-
I think we should
I
do
would-
what the
I
public
think
has
we-
been waiting for us to do a long time and take a vote.
I think we could have the, all those here.
And I would like to just point out one thing. Commissioner Lewis, when did you submit your motions?
I wrote this motion for December, and
No, when did you submit them to the commissioners?
we emailed them 2 days ago.
Right, so 2 days
That's
ago.
a lot earlier than you have ever emailed motions, so let's not go there. If you want to go
well,
there,
you can go
Commissioner,
there
I
bec-
will go right there
Yeah,
with you.
Let me ask,
Yeah, you know,
Chairman.
that's a
Mr.
nice
Chairman,
comment,
let
but I
me
haven't
ask,
sent
you
anything.
You don't send anything to
Mr.
us, so
Colby.
let's not talk about that.
Well,
What are
let's
the
just talk
proper-
about 2 days advance notice of a complicated issue, you know.
It's better
and-
than no notice, like you do.
Well, when was that, just so I know? If you want to just make statements,
Okay,
go
let's-
ahead and make it statements with clarity. You know,
Come to
because
order here.
be specific, like I'm trying to be specific.
Okay.
Because you're saying something that's not
hit it a
true,
couple times.
and we're talking about that.
Okay.
Everybody, he's going to keep
Just
going.
call the meeting to order. Mr. Colby, what is the proper notice on, adding to these exhibits that we vote on? I'm not necessarily for or against Commissioner Lewis's language, but I or my staff did not see
Yeah,
it.
no, it's, and Colby's, whispering in about the Roberts Rules component, which is, we've talked in the past, we don't necessarily follow it. We use it as a guide when our rules are silent. I think the applicable rule would be if you had an item, let's say energy efficiency wasn't on the agenda, and we decided to vote on it today, well, then that triggers open meetings law requirements where you have to provide 24 hours notice. And if it's not 24 hours notice, then you have to have a unanimous vote to take up an item. I don't think that's at play here. The item is on the agenda, and the votes are all centering around that specific item. So I think we're within our rules there. It's up to you all whether you want to consider things or not. But there's no specific rule on saying that you have to have the language before or not.
Yeah, I think you're right on the order. I think the question is that it's a big step added to the overall program that we haven't really had a whole lot of time to discuss, other than acting on a big chunk of difference. When you're asking for effectively 25% of the program to be allocated off to the administrator's sole authority under the reading of this, that takes it out of the overall program. Because look, in energy efficiency, everybody floats on a rising tide, okay? And, we're identifying specific special interests to do this, and if they want to do it, that's fine, but we ought to be able to look at this and vote on it at each one instead of having this identify this. And that's why having an opportunity to meet with council, meet with the consultants on specific elements of this thing is important. Had a chance to meet with the consultant, had a chance to meet with council on the broad overall plan, but absolutely had no chance to meet with them on these particular additional elements to the overall plan. So, it's a last minute thing, and I think that in general, I don't have a big problem with the first part of it, other than the issue about how the administrator is cloaked. I do have a problem with the second one because I don't think we should be trying to help landlords. I
The
think
chair's
I
going to
think-
rule
and
that
that's
we,
the issue.
that we add this addition to the document.
Can I ask staff a question real quick, Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
Ms. Bowman, is it not correct that majority of the comments we received from utilities did mention a carve-out for low income? Was that not the case? Did we not see some of those comments?
From my memory,
I
they
believe
did agree.
Entergy put that comment in to have a low-income carve-out. I believe SWEPCO did as well. Clico, if I'm mistaken on your company, please. I just wanted to put in the record that in the comments, which we also looked, which have been vetted and put on our system, even the utilities said they would like to see if we move to a third-party administrator, a carve-out for low-income customers. I just wanted to make sure I didn't just pull this out of my hat, right? Thank you.
I don't believe the utilities asked for third-party administrators because I'm pretty sure they've all opposed it.
In their comments, if we went there, they made comments that if we move to a third-party administrator, we should have a carve-out for low income. We can call them to the table and ask them if they wrote
we
that in their
will be.
comments.
We're gonna-
But I believe I read that, and if I'm mistaken, somebody can step up and tell me I misread.
Well, I'd like to hear from the utilities at
Well,
the
the chair
appropriate
rules,
time.
we're going to bring this before a vote, and so we have some discussion on the issue.
Yes, sir, we have several yellow cards, so before
Would
we
like
take
to-
a vote, we do need to go through the individuals who asked to speak.
Right, before we vote, we will
Yes, sir.
hear from these. We're going to limit the time of each one to about 2 minutes. Would that be proper?
I think that's reasonable, yes,
According to
sir.
numbers, so would you call up, we've got 2 seats here. Would you call up the first 2?
Catherine, after the public gets a chance to speak, I'd like to hear from the utilities and also from the consultant.
Yes, sir, they all have yellow cards. I was just gonna let the.
Okay, I
the
didn't
con-
know which
yes,
ones
sir.
you had.
And you want to clarify that too, just Colby wants to make sure we have this on the table properly. So we have a motion from Commissioner Green as amended by Commissioner Lewis. Commissioner Green, you accept those amendments and you are
Yes.
seconding it? Got it, okay.
Okay, so we have several individuals who would like to speak on behalf of Together Louisiana. They've all said they would limit to just a couple of minutes. I'll call up the first 4 maybe. Ms. Hanson is on there, Ms. Aquila Ivory, Mr. Daniel Walker, and Mr. Rodney Wallace, I guess, to begin, and then we can rotate from there. And just for the record, there's a little button on the microphone. If you press that and the light is green, you're hot, and please introduce yourself for the record before you speak.
Good morning. My name is Erin Hansen. I'm here with Together Louisiana. We have a number of folks here from around the state. We represent local organizations from every district. So we have selected just a few people to testify, but I want to just recognize the folks who traveled here today. So if our leaders from Together Louisiana don't mind just standing up to be recognized.
Thank y'all for being here.
I want to share with you all some clarity that I think we have developed around energy efficiency. We looked into why is our energy efficiency program ranked 46th out of 50 states? Why does the independent think tank, the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, rank our utilities and public programs sector 0 points out of 15? When we started looking into it, we realized that there is a feature of the existing energy efficiency program that is perplexing at best and damaging at worst. And that feature is that we have put utility companies who make money from selling electricity in charge of running energy efficiency programs, which are supposed to reduce energy usage. We're here today to support the proposed Phase 2 energy efficiency rules as amended. We want to thank Commissioner Green and all the members of the commission for their leadership on this issue. So thank you very much. I want to just, by way of illustrating how important this is to us, draw out the 3 major consequences that I see in the existing program that have risen out of the conflict of interest that has been a key feature of it for the last decade. The first is scale. We think the program is effective. We think the work that has been done so far is good work. It just hasn't reached nearly enough people. The existing program served about 1/3 of 1% of Louisiana customers in 2022. So the first problem is the scale. It needs to be bigger. The second problem is something we're calling imaginary savings. The existing program has never required that the energy savings that they claim to produce are real. They are based on measurements, best case scenario models. For instance, if you buy a light bulb that's subsidized through Quick Start, the light bulb is assumed to be plugged in right away and work properly and run for 20 years and be used for 2.17 hours per day. Never mind if that light bulb actually got plugged in and used. So we think the new rule allows for more concrete measurements of energy savings and cost savings using hourly meter data, and we look to tighten that up in the final program. So imaginary savings, we think that's a problem. Finally, goes to recovery charges. This is the idea that we have been compensating utility companies for electricity that they never sold, that we never used, as a result of the energy efficiency program. This has cost Louisiana ratepayers $37 million over the last 9 years. We support the amendment to remove ghost recovery charges from the proposed rule. With that, I thank you all for your attention, for your time, for your care in this. We look forward to working with you all to design a really good energy efficiency program.
Thank you, Aaron. Is there someone else who'd like to speak?
Good morning. My name is Equila Ivory with Westside Sponsor Committee and Parker P. United Together. I'm a customer with Parker P. Electric. Last month, my energy bill was $198. This month is $372. For the last 10 years, around the state, everyone been able to get energy efficiency assisted, which my provider did not participate in. I'm asking you today to please vote yes, so I could also be able to save. Thank you.
Well, thank you,
Can I
Shannon.
comment on
Okay.
that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
So I'm from Maringwin, and I went to False River.
Okay, and
So-
I live in Photos.
Oh, do you?
Thank you.
Yeah, I stayed at the Aurelians all the time.
Okay.
But, yeah, help is coming. And
Okay,
there's several reasons why your bill's high, and we're trying to attack all of them, but this is a very big one.
And I did nothing different that
Well, I
month.
know you didn't.
Okay, thank you.
But we're trying on multiple fronts to help, so help's on the way.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here. I want to thank all of Together Louisiana, because a lot of people come to us with problems without solutions. And I think the people closest to the problems are the ones that have the best ideas for solutions. So look at all the work that y'all done to help come up with options for leaders such as us to enact on. So I want to thank y'all for all your efforts.
You're on Entergy or Point Capee?
Parker P. Electric. That's the only
You're on
provider I
Point
can-
Capee,
Parker
yeah.
P. Electric.
Yes, okay, all right. Who wants to speak next? Just give it your name,
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Danny Walker.
Danny.
I'm a resident of Benton in North Bossier Parish.
Okay.
I'm the Political and Legislative Director for the South Central Pipe Trades. I represent approximately 3,500 union plumbers, pipe fitters, welders, and air conditioning technicians in our state. I'm here this morning in support of the proposal to expand the energy efficiency program. Expansion of this program would mean not only work for our members, but could afford the opportunity to train new trade workers for Louisiana. In the past couple of years, extreme weather events have become more frequent. Thousands of Louisiana residents have just experienced an extreme cold weather event. Expansion of the energy efficiency program to include a weatherization program that was targeted at residential homes, especially for those individuals who currently do not have the means or access to such a program, could potentially minimize the water outages that we've got currently going on. Any type of extended utility outage, water, electricity, etc., can endanger public health and safety. Today, we have the opportunity to take the steps necessary to potentially minimize these outages. In closing, we're in support of any program that will protect the health of the citizens, generate work for the workforce, and work for our members. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. You're in Commissioner Campbell's district.
That's correct.
All right, there's someone else who'd like to speak here. Thank y'all for coming. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm Rodney Wallace. I'm here representing the Louisiana Building and Construction Trades Unions. I'm an electrician by trade. And whenever I hear anything about energy efficiency programs, I hear work for plumbers, insulators, carpenters, electricians, and those are all good careers. They all pay more than the average salary of a person who have a college degree. And we have apprenticeship programs throughout the state, in every part of the state, which people do not have to pay tuition to go to. And they're earned while you learn forms of education that people would make good careers out of. And you know, all we need is jobs to put the people on. And y'all can help us with that. And I look forward to working with all 5 of y'all to help put Louisiana citizens to work.
Yeah, my dad was an electrician, and where's your residence?
In New Orleans.
In New Orleans, okay, well, thank you for that.
I would just like to
Commissioner
comment,
Green.
too. You know, a lot of work went into this, and I would say this is a win-win-win for everybody. And I know we'll hear from the utilities too. I think they're gonna win because they're gonna finally look a little better in the public's eye, if that's ever anything they're interested in. But it's a win for jobs and work, and it's a win for ratepayers and customers. And I think it's just a win overall. And it makes, if you ask a third grader, which is a better way to do it, this is clearly the better way to do it, so.
Let me, Commissioner Lewis has something to say.
Yes, and thank you all for coming. And also, I want to stop and thank all of you in the audience. I think it's extremely important that you all get involved in this process and come to these meetings. For too long, and I said this the first meeting a year ago, that I wanted to see this Public Service Commission get back to serving the public. And that includes you being a part of the process and being here. Too often, these meetings are filled with people I admire, but are just lawyers and regulators and utilities. But the work that we do here, the work of energy efficiency, is solely about what you all talked about. It is about developing workforce. And we talk about that pipeline. We talk about all of the incentives that we have seen from the Biden-Harris administration in investing back into our people. When we think about what you mentioned, your utility bills, we hear a lot of comments about rates around here. And there is some truth that our rates are low, but what we don't talk about is energy burden and energy cost. And that we have too many Louisianians spending over 30% of their income just to turn on their AC or their heat. And it's important that we hear your voice and we see your presence to remind us that when we take votes, we are voting for you, not a utility company. And so I just wanted to thank you all for testifying, but also thank all of you for showing up, emailing, staying involved in the process, and over the next 5 years that I have on this commission, I'm going to look for more ways to ensure that we make sure your voice is heard at this commission. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you for this. It's nice. One of your number one problems is 2.6 million people in Louisiana utility customers. And
Commissioner, can you use your mic closer, please?
speaking, okay.
Thank you.
The scale of 2.6 million customers, and you're saying only 0.34% is directly served by energy efficiency. That's the problem. That is the problem, correct?
We think that's one of the main problems that has come out of this conflict of interest, is that the programs have stayed too small.
Yeah. Well, if the program goes into effect that you propose, how much will that increase?
So,
I know you don't know exactly, but how much do you think it would increase if your proposed program goes into effect?
I wish I had a number for you. I don't know what a good target would be, and I'll defer to folks in the room who are experts in that, who can say what a reasonable target might be. Enough so that when we go knock on doors and ask people what their biggest concern is, it isn't paying their utility bill. It is probably the number one thing we hear from people, that they're struggling to pay their bills, and we'll know that that a program is effective when that is no longer the difference between people being able to survive or not.
So you think it would go up considerably from the 0.34?
That's right. One of the features of the proposed program that we really like is that it creates an increased budget for energy efficiency and sets energy savings targets. We think with targets in place, the program will be required to reach more people than it is now.
Yeah, I understand that. I just wondered if you had any kind of estimate, how
I
many
would be
people?
completely making it up if I did, so I'm not gonna try.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Aaron, and thank y'all for coming. Do we have some more names over there
Yes,
on
sir,
the
we
yellow
do.
list? Should we
We
call
have
them
a
up?
couple more for Together Louisiana, Richard Horton, Jody Manuel, and I think it's Danny Moses. If I mispronounced, I apologize.
I think the commissioners would like to know where y'all get those pretty shirts from. I'd sure like to buy one. I think they're really cute. I'm sure my wife would love one.
We can arrange that,
And he's
sir.
not in an election year, so he can accept any gifts.
Okay. All right, go ahead, ladies. Ma'am?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jody Manali. I'm an Entergy Louisiana ratepayer, and I live in Jefferson Parish and have my small business in Jefferson Parish.
Okay.
I've been a member of the Alliance for Affordable Energy since 2008, and I served on their board for 3 years. I've also organized and led educational sessions for realtors on the Energy Smart and Energy Solutions programs over the years. That is the only reason I learned about these energy efficiency programs. Otherwise, I would have had no clue that these programs existed. There's been a sore lack of publicity over the last 10 years about them, which helps explain why so few residential customers use them. They don't know they exist. As a realtor, I have asked the marketing folks at both of those programs to send me brochures and social media posts to use so I could continue educating my clients to improve to have opportunities to improve the energy efficiency in their homes. If I asked, they complied. But I had to work hard to get the word out about energy efficiency programs because the utility companies have done such a poor job of publicizing them. This all made sense to me when I saw that there's a conflict of interest in letting utility companies who make money from selling electricity run energy efficiency in our state. The serious lack of publicity and proactive outreach to customers has been a real disservice to ratepayers across the state and points to the need to approve an energy efficiency rule that will appoint a third-party independent administrator with no conflict of interest to run a statewide program. That's why I'm asking you to approve the new rule as amended before you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you. And next?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Richard Horton. I'm from Alexandria, Louisiana, Parish of Rapides, District 4. I am a retiree from the state of Louisiana. During my years of service, I had my head down and was focused on sheltering and feeding my family. I never had the time to pay attention to issues such as this one we are discussing today and how they affect my life. A couple of years ago, I received a survey asking me if I knew what the Public Service Commission does and what the Energy Efficiency Program is. My answer was no, which compelled me to do some research. I understand now that there has to be a balance between industry that provides service to the public and the welfare of the citizens, and that is what the Public Service Commission does. I thank the Public Service Commission for protecting my family and citizens of Louisiana's interests while I was protecting the safety and security of their families and the citizens of Louisiana. We're asking you to vote yes on the proposed rule as amended.
Thank you for your work, too.
Thank you,
I know
Richard.
you're retired, but I know you protected us, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, I'm Danny Moses from LaPlace. The state's energy efficiency program is affecting a lot of people in our community, including my 70-year-old mother who's here today, who's on a fixed income and only takes home less than $25,000 a year. My mother has faced repeated challenges in paying her electric bills. Despite applying for weatherization programs multiple times, she was deemed ineligible. She has drafts by her windows. She was hoping to get those windows sealed, and also maybe they come in and check out her AC systems and ducts in hopes to lower her electric bill. My mother does receive utility assistance from a community program twice a year. She's only allowed to get it twice a year. When she does not receive it from them, me and my siblings have to pitch in. So one of the things is that we want our mother to be safe, comfortable, and at peace during her retirement. It is hard to see her struggling to pay her utility bills month after month, year after year. And what's more disappointing is when I found out about the ghost recovery charges, that makes the problem even worse. I urge the Public Service Commission to approve this new program and also approve the amendment to remove the ghost recovery charges to help my mother and other people throughout the state of Louisiana. Thank you.
Dana, where are you located? Where's your residence?
Laplace.
Laplace, okay, and you're an Entergy customer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for coming. You have some more names there, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So this is the rest from Together Louisiana. We have a couple more. I cannot see what your last name is, but there's a Miss Robin who's representing herself, if she would like to come up and speak. Also Logan Burke, Forrest Wright, and Emma Hopkins.
Okay. See, Logan is a familiar face, and
Yes, sir.
ask y'all to please try to keep it to 2 minutes, okay? Probably got some more waiting to talk behind you.
You want to go first?
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Ladies first.
All right. Hi, y'all. My name is Emma Hopkins. I'm a campaign representative and organizer with the Sierra Club here in Louisiana. We represent thousands of members here in Louisiana and are one of the oldest and largest environmental nonprofits in the country. I am here to support the energy efficiency rule. As Aaron stated earlier, Louisiana has ranked 46 out of 50 for energy efficiency in the states. This program is long overdue, as our state has one of the highest energy burdens in the country. A robust energy efficiency program will create transparency and accountability, helping Louisianans save energy and lowering our bills, or keeping us comfortable, healthy, and safe in our homes. And an efficient grid is an important step in a just transition away from fossil fuels. I want to thank the Louisiana Public Service Commission for considering this rule, and I hope that you vote yes. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hopkins. Okay. Logan?
Hi, Logan Burke.
They wouldn't give you a shirt?
You know who I am. Logan Burke for the Alliance for Affordable Energy. I will keep this brief because after 13 years and hundreds of pages of comments urging this commission to move on energy efficiency to improve the lives of Louisianans, I just wanted to offer our support for the two amendments that have been offered here today, and a little bit of why. In 2022, 150,000 households in Louisiana struggled with utility bills and spent around 27% of their income just to keep the lights on. 27%. We've heard these numbers about what it means to be energy burdened. As I understand the proposed amendment, it allows the administrator who has expertise to look at the specific needs in those communities for those households that are struggling in those specific ways, and to find the solutions and bring those solutions to the commission for approval. And so the idea of that amendment feels to me like this commission's plenary authority to make a decision now that there is a guarantee that the people who need these programs the very most will get them. I also want to point out that the amendment that Commissioner Green has provided makes all the sense in the world, as we have pointed out in our comments over the years. If we're gonna save money, let's save money. And let's not spend money in unreasonable ways, especially since we do have formula rate plans and other kinds of mechanisms. The state has an opportunity to leverage these programs right now with around $250 million that are coming down from the federal government that other agencies in the state, as you well know, are gonna be managing. And having a third-party administrator that looks at this comprehensively and can work with those other state agencies is vital. I want to thank this commission. I've spoken with all of you about energy efficiency over the years, and I've seen some of you come to technical conferences. I've seen some of you really sit around a table and try and consider what are the ways to best serve the people of Louisiana, and this is clearly it. Also, as we are experiencing more of this extreme cold, as we have done this last couple of weeks, and extreme heat, we know that energy efficiency also improves our resilience. It means not only that people's utility bills aren't going to be scary the next month, it means that the lights can stay on for everyone in a better way. So I want to thank you, and hopefully we can move this forward.
Logan, a question from Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you, Ms. Berg. I just want you to reiterate why you believe it's important that there is a budget allocation for low-income customers, because I want to be very clear while we're doing this.
Sure. Low-income customers are very often considered the hardest customers to reach. It takes some additional effort to identify them. It may take additional effort to identify what the specific solutions are for their housing stock. And so making sure, guaranteeing that this commission is saying, this is a priority, we're recognizing that this is one of the solutions here and now, and making sure that the third-party administrator, whoever they may be, understands that from the jump, if you will.
Right.
And so recognizing that, of course, the administrator is required to listen to each of you and to, in the end, take your final directives about what the program should look like. I'm supportive of it largely because of the kinds of expertise that they will bring.
And Ms. Burke, you mentioned that it's been 13 years, and I remind everybody in the audience, 13 years ago, I was a senior in high school. So this has been a very long time coming, but you have read the rule, correct, the proposed rule?
Yes,
and I see you don't have a copy of it, but when you go back, I would like to point you to page 13 of the proposed rule, or page 30 of the full document, which reads, once the budget allocations are set and approved by the commission, the administrator shall present the budget cycle plan and EE program design for a commission's approval, along with an estimate of anticipated rate and bill impact. So based off of what's in the rule, even with my amendment, would you not agree that there are still two approval processes for this commission before a budget cycle begins?
That's certainly my reading of the rule, even with your additional amendment. And again, what this means is a guarantee.
So so it's not, my amendment doesn't take the commission's authority out, because when you go to page 13 of this actual rule, the budget still has to be approved as written.
Indeed.
What this does is says that we are telling the administrator, when you present a budget before this commission to be approved, 15% of it needs to be allocated to low-income customers, and 10% needs to be allocated towards renters. Is that how you would understand
That's
that?
absolutely how I understand it.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify the record.
Thank you.
Okay, it's the gentleman's turn.
Yes, my name is Robin Mulder. I'm a retired mechanical engineer living in Baton Rouge, hence I'm an Entergy customer. First off, as an engineer, energy efficiency is a social good. Enough said. Basically, what I want to address is what's not being said. Utilities are a natural monopoly, hence we have set up this system where you regulate their rate of return on their investment and their pass-through of expenses. That is the basic social compact. This energy efficiency program, let's just say an example, because engineers work this way. If electric car sales shot through the roof and electric sales doubled, this commission would not let Entergy's profits double. they would look at a rate case of what their actual reasonable investment was, the reasonable rate of return, and their reasonable expenses, and adjust their rates appropriately. If energy efficiency reduces their sales and their profits do not come up to the regulated, set by the commission rate of return, you will listen to their rate case and appropriately adjust their rates to reflect that fact. Therefore, energy efficiency should not be part of their portfolio. It should be a social good. I'm an old hillbilly. I'll just tell you, hillbilly style. You don't have the fox guard the hen house.
Okay, thank you, Robin. All right, next.
You got to follow that.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Well, I do want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. This is a new and notable chapter
What's
for
your name?
energy efficiency in Louisiana. My name is Forrest Bradley Wright.
Hey,
I am the
Forrest.
State and Utility Program Director for the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy. I was in this room 10 years ago when the Commission initially began its Quick Start programs. And in that 10 years,
It looks like, yeah.
all right, thank you so much. In that 10 years, savings on energy efficiency in Louisiana have stagnated relative to other states in the country, to the point that the national average for annual energy efficiency savings is 6 times higher than Louisiana. In neighboring jurisdictions like New Orleans and Arkansas, savings are more than 10 times higher. And this is similar for states that have statewide administrators, where savings are between 6 and 10 and more times higher than energy savings have been in Louisiana. Energy efficiency is the least cost energy resource. I remember that was a very important point when the Commission established these energy efficiency rules in the first place. That means if you do not invest in energy efficiency, you're going to be paying more to provide that power through building new power plants and power supply. So underinvestment in energy efficiency has consequences for Louisiana customers. According to the Energy Information Administration, Louisiana residential customers have the highest average consumption of energy compared to any other state in the country. So energy efficiency has the potential to make an extraordinary difference. The American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy is a research and technical assistance organization focused on energy efficiency. We're probably best known for our state and utility scorecards that we put out each year. You've heard mentioned a couple of times that Louisiana is ranked 46th among states. That comes from the American Council for an Energy Efficiency state scorecard. So today's vote is a new opportunity to create consistent statewide energy efficiency programs that will reach more customers, including the 400,000 plus customers served by cooperative utilities. This is a chance for you to scale your savings up. Commissioner Foster, you asked earlier how much savings Louisiana could do. Your current rules have a measured approach at the beginning, but you have the potential to set the pace going forward. So you can, and I would encourage you, should be striving to meet the energy savings that you see at the national level, that you see in your neighboring jurisdictions. And of course, energy bills eliminate energy waste, which we can ill afford, and help lower energy bills for customers. So establishing a statewide administrator model is a new direction. It turns the page on 10 years of low-performing utility-led energy efficiency programs. And you put a lot of work and a lot of thought into the rules that you have before you today. And if those are approved, I can say there will be more work to follow through and implement those. This doesn't stop with today's vote, but it is a new chapter, and it gives you all the potential to increase the benefits to Louisiana customers. But you are not alone in this. There are other states that have established successful statewide administrator models, as I noted before, consistently delivering 6 to 10 times and more energy savings, which would do wonders for Louisiana, helping to lower those energy bills. And the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy is ready and willing to provide any assistance that we might be able to, that you would desire, to assist you in establishing a successful statewide energy efficiency program administrator and programs for customers. And we also would be happy to connect you with experienced individuals that had a hand in setting up statewide administration models in other states that point to the increased potential and can provide something of a roadmap for you and to proceed in this direction. So I encourage you to move forward. You have a foundation to build on, some good work ahead, and today's vote is a potential significant turning point for Louisiana. Thank you.
Forrest.
Thank you all very much.
Ms. Bowman, you have any other questions? Any other people?
Two more.
Two more, okay. You'll call their name?
It's Mark Kleehammer on behalf of CLECO and Larry Hand on behalf of Entergy.
Oh, good, okay. Get a chance to come up here and defend yourself.
They have 2 minutes each. They preach a little while sometimes.
Yeah,
so.
Remind you guys.
Please adhere to the 2 minutes, gentlemen.
Remind you guys, two attorneys, it's 2 minute limit, okay?
The small chair.
We're not attorneys up here.
No.
Thank you, Commissioners. Mark Kleehammer on behalf of CLECO Power. At CLECO, we cannot be more supportive of energy efficiency programs when done correctly. Throughout the years, our comments have repeatedly supported the expansion of our energy efficiency program. It's worth noting that only CLECO, Entergy, and SWEPCO have voluntarily participated in EE development since inception, which is why we have repeatedly asked to be exempted from the third-party administrator concept, if possible, allowing us to maintain the momentum that we've achieved for our customers. We're very proud of our current, at CLECO, very proud of our current PowerWise program, the expansion and improvements we've made, and the benefits that we've provided to our customers. Since 2013, CLECO's programs have expanded and improved dramatically. For example, the budget has increased over 60%, consistent with guidelines under the Quick Start rules. KW savings have grown by 66%. KWH savings have grown by roughly 50%, and the efficiency metrics by which we're measured have also improved. That means we're spending more on incentives. That has increased from 52 to 66%. And the primary national metric, the TRC test, or total resource cost effectiveness, has increased by 56%, from 1.76 to 2.75, meaning that for every dollar we spent, we're achieving $2.75 in savings. In summary, we're spending more and more effectively delivering programs that provide savings and value to customers. When compared to the programs in the 4 very different jurisdictions that employ a third-party administrator, Louisiana's costs of 20 cents per kWh are 50% less than Hawaii and Wisconsin, and less than a third of the cost in Vermont. I'll note that some of the comments previously have noted that Louisiana is ranked 46th out of 50 in the statewide metric by ACEEE. It is worth noting that that is exactly that, a statewide metric. It considers state government programs, building codes, transportation, appliance standards, industrial energy efficiency, and utility programs. When you consider that only 3 of the utilities in Louisiana, 3 of the electric utilities in Louisiana participated, we have significantly expanded and provided value. We would love to expand our program under reasonable rules that allows us to maintain our connection to our customers and build on the momentum that we've achieved, while holding us accountable to transparent metrics like KW and KWH performance goals and the total resource cost test for spending efficiency, and recognizing the very real effect of programmatic revenue destruction and its effect on our ability to earn our target returns through LCFC recovery. Folks have talked about ghost charges. Our concerns about LCFC is not an academic exercise, especially given the amendment that was made. People talk pejoratively about monopoly and guaranteed recovery. Over the last 4 years, CLECO Power has earned less than 8% on average over those years, compared to our target return on equity of 9.5, or returns on equity which are significantly greater in surrounding states. Loss of LCFC would structurally add to our revenue requirement deficit on a prospective basis, which is inconsistent with allowing Louisiana utilities the opportunity to earn a return commensurate with similarly situated peers. Thank you.
2 minutes or less. Tell me how you're gonna get the word out to the public. One of the criticisms we have is nobody knows about the energy efficiency program, so.
Oh, absolutely. We have bill inserts. We have, it's on our website, everything about our billing. We at CLECO and prior with Entergy, we have advertised these to folks forever, since the inception of
So
the
your
program.
opinion is that's not a fact?
I think it's evident. I think it's very simple to find the information about our programs. And they've been fully subscribed. To the extent that they've been limited, they've been limited by the size of the program allowed.
Okay, well, let's hammer, let's listen to Han then.
Good morning, Commissioners. Larry Hand on behalf of Entergy Louisiana. First, on the advertising awareness point, I would want to point out that we do advertise these energy efficiency programs for Entergy. It's Entergy Solutions. We've won multiple awards actually for the advertising work we've done in that space, but I do think we can all do more collectively to raise the public awareness of these programs. I heard earlier someone talking about the value of energy efficiency, that it's the lowest cost resource we have. And I think for the Louisiana programs, that's a very true statement. No one talked about the other metrics in the ACEEE study. Yes, Louisiana as a state was ranked pretty poorly, but in terms of the dollar per kWh for energy efficiency measures, Louisiana was ranked 14th out of 51. On average, for ELL at least, the cost for a dollar for a kilowatt hour of savings is about, or megawatts probably easier to speak of. It's on a lifetime basis for every energy efficiency measure we do. It costs about $10.50 a megawatt over the lifetime. And so if you think about what an LMP is running for us, our fuel rate this month was about $25 a megawatt hour. So we can spend, $10.50 a megawatt hour to avoid that $25 fuel. So we categorically believe we need to do more energy efficiency as a state. We have supported this since 2014 in terms of participating in the voluntary Quick Start program. I know sitting in 2024, referring to it as Quick Start doesn't feel like the right name, but over those years we've grown it, and we're to the point for Entergy Louisiana's program that we max out at the Commission's cap under the Quick Start rules at 1%. So our 2024 budget is maxed out. We're very proud of the work that's been done in that space to get us to where we are, but certainly acknowledge we have a lot more to do. We can do a lot more as a group. And I'm not going to get into, Mr. Kleehammer covered a lot of the points I won't get into, but I do want to make it clear that the programs we have done over time, they've been very cost beneficial, very effective for customers. Our total resource cost performance in the most recent report was 3.11. So that means for every dollar we spent on energy efficiency, we got 3.11 of savings for customers. So very beneficial programs. The real issue is we need to do more of it and figure out how to do more and collaborate on how to do it. And Commissioner Green, on your motion, you and I have had discussions on the LCFC. I'm not going to get into that, but I want to go back and reflect on the motion. It seemed like you were suggesting that we would eliminate EE riders and recover the direct program cost through whatever the normal rate mechanism is, FRP, RSP, rate case. And if that is the intent, I certainly want to understand it more, but it can have very significant ramifications on how we set rates. Mr. Wright talked about the regulatory, just the balance of rate making and such, and that those shifts can have very significant impacts as long as we take those into account in the rate making, whether it's a rate case, FRP.
And we'd like your input on that too, which the ghost recovery is a real thing. We don't mind y'all earning for work you actually do, but I don't think it's right to pay for things you don't actually do.
Yeah, and I don't agree with the term ghost recovery, but I understand your point very well. And I think for me, if we do energy efficiency the right way and do more of it, there will be known and measurable savings in terms of kilowatt hours not sold and those sorts of costs, capacity cost. And reflecting those known and measurable changes as we set rates, it balances the interest of energy efficiency programs, but also makes sure that the Commission's responsibility as a constitutional agency to provide a cost-based business and a reasonable opportunity to recover. I think we can balance all of those, and I look forward to more collaboration as we go into this to figure out how to do it best for our customers and your constituents.
Well, I want to thank you too, because I think we've come to an agreement that even if this isn't y'all's optimal way of doing it, it still can be a win, I think, for y'all and everyone else, because there's going to be a lot of work in this space for utilities to do still.
Yep. And I look forward to working with you and your staff to do that.
Thank y'all
Commissioner
very much.
Shimetta, you have something to say?
Yeah, I got a few questions.
Commissioner, your mic,
I'm sorry.
please.
Yeah, I got a few questions. I guess I'll start with Mr. Han. So what were the states that the commission's consultant identified to do the analysis on comparison between Louisiana and those states?
You're referring to the states that utilized a statewide administrator
Yes.
model?
Yes.
I believe it was Hawaii, Vermont.
Wisconsin and Oregon,
Oregon?
those are the four.
And so, looking at those states, what were their electricity rate costs compared to Louisiana?
I don't have that number, Mr. Cleamer.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean,
I know Hawaii's
I
gotta
can identify
be
that
the-
Hawaii has always been
Hawaii's the
3 times
highest
higher
cost.
than anybody
Right.
else in the country.
Right.
But knowing where Louisiana has fallen out the last 5-6 years, they are all higher. Confident of that.
I mean, they're all higher. So my question is, do you think that the analysis provided by the consultant in selecting from Louisiana, which is in questionably the 3 lowest states in the country, and looking at energy efficiency against 3 of the highest cost utility cost in the country, is a reasonable analysis in the first place? Shouldn't there have been a comparative against states and their energy efficiency program that are more comparable against Louisiana rate structures? I mean,
Commissioner, I will
y'all
say,
can
I mean,
either take the turns.
The third-party administrator is unique to 4 jurisdictions, and they are significantly different than Louisiana.
How many other states have third-party administrators besides these 4 states?
I am only aware of these 4.
Okay, so the reason why these, would it be reasonable to say that the reason the analysis of these 4 states took place is because it's the only 4 states in the country that have third-party administrators? Do you know why the other, remainder of the states don't use third-party administrators in their energy efficiency programs?
I do not. We filed comments at every opportunity and requested technical conferences to follow through the rulemaking, and I'm not aware of why that decision was made.
Did you get any answers to your questions when you presented them?
I did not.
Why not? Did you submit them in the form of an interrogatory, or?
No, I mean, we've just commented on the unique nature of the third-party program.
Okay, well, question to staff. You received these questions asking why none of the remaining states used third-party administrators?
I don't believe it was phrased as a question to us. I may be wrong on that, but it was just part of their comments in the stakeholder process. And they just pointed out that these 4 states, as Mark just mentioned, were different from Louisiana in usage and
Well, I'll
cost.
give our consultant just a heads up when I call him up. We're going to ask him the same questions, and you'll be thinking about this. Mr. Hyatt, so when we do get to you, you'll know that these questions are coming. So, one of my questions about energy efficiency in other states is, Louisiana, 50% of the power consumed in the state of Louisiana is consumed by the industrial community. In these other states, which I imagine that Hawaii and Vermont aren't big, heavy industrial states, so virtually, I would say that predominantly, most of the power consumed in those states is through residential and commercial. Is that a reasonable assertion?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you know what the total kilowatt consumption is in those states?
I do not.
Okay, well, Phil, that'll be another question for you. And, because I want to understand that. And I would imagine Wisconsin has industrial capacity of some kind. And I'd like to know if Wisconsin has industrial capacity and if it participates in the energy efficiency program. Because my concerns is that we are going into a state that, for the production of 100% of electricity, we're looking at 50% of the production of electricity and only looking at the participation of 50% of the ratepayers in paying for 100% of the energy efficiency program under a construct that the industrials say, well, we got this. I mean, that's effectively what they say. And I think that this is largely lost on the commissioners, it's largely lost on the public, that that being the case, the cost of this would be much lower than it is, because I think this is excessive. I think it's an expensive program. So, you know, you've heard earlier statements by some of the commissioners that y'all are good with a public administrator. I mean, Mr. Kleehammer, how does your company feel about a public administrator program versus the current program that the commission has that does not have a public administrator?
In all of our comments, we've pointed out that we appreciate the connection to our customers, the ability to provide tailored programs for our customers, and have commented on our voluntary participation since inception, expansion, modification of the programs, and desire to continue to do the same.
Does that mean you want to have a public administrator program, or do not?
Our comments have asked for an exemption from the public administrator program because we actually have real programs in place right now.
How many employees do you have that work to keep up to the standard by the commission, to keep up with reporting to us about the program as of right now?
We have, at CLECO, we have 6 internal employees and then multiple trade allies and partners that do a majority of the low-income and other weatherization work.
Do you anticipate any loss of these employees if we transition into a different program?
I think that their duties will definitely change and we will redeploy them.
Okay. Is redeploy a fancy word for adios?
I certainly hope not. Generally speaking, we have attrition. We have a runway here, and we're very pleased with our employees to date, so we hope to find a place for them.
Is attrition and adios, I mean, runway another word for adios? I mean, are people going to get fired and lose their jobs?
Okay. Scameta's wore out his 2 minutes, okay?
Oh, I've got 2 minutes on me. They got 2 minutes. I think I got some real questions on
The
this.
program as it exists will not have those jobs, as I
Okay,
understand
so those
it.
jobs are going to go away, right? It's okay. You can be more direct in your answers, and we can save time on this. And same question for you, Mr. Hand.
Yes, sir. We have one manager of energy efficiency who's spoken before you before. We rely more heavily on a third-party implementer, which is a Louisiana-based company, to provide some of the other administrative services. And like CLECO, we have a number of trade allies and supply houses that we partnered with. And so if this program were to shift to a statewide administrator, certainly there can be disruptions. And that's one of the concerns is we have momentum and we want to get bigger. But the way to do that, in our view, for more continuity is just to grow what we have, which is why at least CLECO and Entergy have said if you want the third-party administrator, maybe start with the entities that don't currently have energy efficiency programs and let those with established programs, grow them under the commission's
Are you
supervision.
talking about the cooperatives?
Yes, and is my understanding, it also would apply to gas companies?
Right, well, the gas companies are already in the program. They've been in the program now for, the current program for about, was it 2 years? 2.5 years, something like that? Yeah, because I think that the public needs to understand that the public entity program that we've been conducting under the Public Service Commission, each commissioner is probably authorized in excess of $20 million apiece into public entity programs to assist local governments in their district to reduce energy consumption through street lighting, school lighting, park lighting, and it has been an effective program that has been administrated at the total cost of $125,000, where this this program now that we're talking about, and the initial report that was presented to me by our consultant indicated a fee to the administrator and public manager of somewhere between $3 and $5 million. And to indicate the reason why I'm concerned about this is, and a lot of people talking about wanting to weatherize homes, which I'm all in favor of, is that amount of money into that administrator and that public entity manager. If we just kept things the way we are, we could divide that amongst the public service commissioner districts, and 100 homes per year could each get a $10,000 weatherization credit, and we could be making excessively good movement towards moving our folks and our families towards getting fixed. In fact, we had the discussion last spring with some of the commissioners about doing this and making it to where folks who are low-income homeowners, 65 and older, fixed-income folks, finding a criteria and getting them this money, okay? And to where we could get people who could get, they could get their attics filled. In fact, one of Commissioner Campbell's former executive assistant, under the program we have now, got his attic re-insulated, and he was happy with the program. In fact, he blabbed about it on Facebook and loved it. We can do more. We can get windows. We can get air conditioners. We can get heaters. We can get insulation. We can get air stripping. All of that could take place under the existing program without having to make the expenses under the administrator. Now, I digress. What is Entergy's position on the administrator? We've heard of CLECO's.
You know, we would prefer to grow the utility-led program we have, expand on that under the commission's oversight and authority to audit to make sure we're delivering the results. From our perspective, the third-party administrator model seems to be in the minority of jurisdictions, and there's a lot of questions that seem to be, we need to work through if we move in that direction. So we're unsure exactly how it'll work. There's a lot to be worked through, and
Right.
that's a concern.
Yeah, because 46 states do not have an administrative program, correct?
My understanding.
Okay. Hang on one second. I think I got the questions that I wanted to get out of you guys. Hang on one second.
While you're looking, may I clarify something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I understand Arkansas did have a third-party administrator, and I also understand this, that y'all will still be able to hire and fire the third-party administrator, or who you have to work with the third-party administrator. It's just going to be with much more robust regulatory oversight. So it's not like we're stripping y'all from having input into energy efficiency. Is that your understanding?
Well, the statewide administrator, I think, is selected by the commission, as
That's
I
right.
understand it.
But it's going to rely heavily on the information that y'all provide to them. It's not like you're not having any input.
Yeah, and I'm not as, those are details I
Okay.
think we collectively need to
Well,
work through.
and to clarify this, and I think that the public needs to understand this vote is not to create the program. This vote is to create the authorization to then go forward to create the RFP to hire the administrator, which should take place over the next 6 to 9 months, who then the administrator will then create the program. Is that an accurate assessment of why you interpret this program to function?
It is my understanding, but I would defer to your consultant for the details.
Well,
because-
I wrote
I'll
it,
ask
so
him
I'll
that.
clarify. The point of all of this is to create accountability.
Well, no, I'm asking about the step-by-step, not the
Are
accountability.
you okay with accountability?
Well, you're going to ask me silly questions. You can get a silly answer in about 30
I don't think
seconds.
accountability is silly.
Accountability is what we all want, and which is why you should be wanting to know why we don't need to hire an administrator. Because if you want to waste $5 million of the public's money to be spent on patronage, then you need to start talking about accountability. All right? Because accountability is going to be something you're going to be talking about a lot. All right? So
I want to talk about it right now. Why
Well,
don't you answer it?
let's go. You want to do it?
Yeah,
Is this really one you got?
what problem do you have with the accountability of the program?
I don't have any problem with the accountability of the program now. I have a problem with...
Chairman, just come to order here. We're getting off track. Where is,
I want to talk to SWEPCO.
Where's SWEPCO's representative here?
They can come and join you at the table.
SWEPCO has also has a,
Mr. Chairman, before we go to
In-house.
SWEPCO, can I ask them two
yes,
questions?
open
I'm
it
not
up
done with
for,
you guys yet,
Commissioner
so-
Lewis, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Got to catch my breath there for a second. I'm sorry. A lot happening in here. I just want to also make mention there is a fifth state. I know we only said 4. There is a fifth state. There is Maine that ranks number 9. So I just wanted to put that in the record. And I know, Mr. Kleehammer, we were just talking about rates, but is it not true that Louisiana residential electricity customers have the highest per capita consumption rate in the United States?
I would have to speculate I have not seen that this year. Typically, Louisiana has in the top 5. It's usually shared with Texas, Alabama, Florida, and Tennessee. I don't know where we fall out, but I would stipulate that we're in the top 5.
Yeah, then depending on the study, it's different. But the point is that Louisiana, while we may talk about rates, when we talk about bill impact, and I know we talked about 6 jobs, we talked about the jobs at Entergy, I'm talking about the nearly 19% of Louisianians who are considered poor. The second poorest state in the nation. 1/3 of all of our children are born into poverty. That rate comparison that we are focusing on can't be the only metric that we use, especially when we are looking at the energy burden and the bill impact. So should we not, as Louisiana, take that into account and not just use a rate comparison?
And Commissioner, if I may, I would like to go back and correct. I thought you were talking about electric usage. When you're talking about energy burden and people include heating oil and natural gas, it's a very, very different answer because you have a lot of the northern states have significant burden up there as well.
Correct, yes, thank you. And I just want to mention, I know we were talking about the vagueness of some of these rules, but if it's not my understanding, this was purposely left open for some flexibility in the bidding process, program design stage, after the administrator was chosen. I'll be very clear on the record, I wanted to develop the program and the rule. However, there were other commissioners who wanted to have the rule have some commission authority. And so I find it a little hypocritical on one end to complain about the vagueness of the rule, on the other hand, when we ask for the vagueness in the rule. But the last point that I would like to talk to you all about is when we looked through, and I read all of your comments, it has been very clear that there was, if not a majority, a working majority towards a third-party administrator. And majority of your comments ignored that process. You constantly filed comments about you didn't want it, and that is acceptable. But I'm having a hard time accepting this notion about not working when we have a comment period to say, yes, I may not like this, but this is how, if you're going to do it, places that you consider. I do want to thank some of the companies that came back in this last round, Entergy, for example, for filing substantive comments about a third-party administrator. But I can't be remiss to say that when we talk about this process, all of you at this table, when we had the comments last time, you submitted a document that redlined, not the current version that we were talking about, a version from 2019. And so I said then, I found that to be very disrespectful, and I still do, because if I am to take your comments and your objections seriously, I want to work with you. As you all know, I've never turned down a single meeting with any of you. And so I am taken a little back when we start talking in that sense, when we have had a line of communication. I've indicated specifically that I was probably going to vote for a third-party administrator and wanted to hear substantive comments back. And so as we move forward, wherever we move forward today in this process, if there is a question, just like there was the comments about questions that you posed, when we pose questions about how to make a third-party administrator or something else, I would appreciate if you respond in that way too. And so I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner, I appreciate your comments, and we did in our supplemental filing did have substantive comments as well. So
yes, I didn't mean to exclude you from that. Sorry about that.
Actually,
SWPCO, 2 minutes.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I was in the middle of a question, if you don't mind if I could complete it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Quick question, and actually staff could answer this because Commissioner Lewis brought this up. When we look at the consumption of consumers in the rate of, like the highest rate of consumption, do the overall consumption, does that include industrials when we do the kilowatts per, do we include the industrials in their consumption in that analysis?
There's both. In fact, while y'all are talking, I'm researching both your questions and Commissioner Lewis's. I think I'll have those very quickly if you get back to me.
Okay, I'm going to let you look at that. And by the way, just to get back to you, Commissioner, just so the public understands this, all we do is audit these companies over and over and over again. So in the world of accountability, that's all this commission is actually tasked with, is we audit these companies. So in everything they do, in everything they've done, we audit them. Audited them to the point where we have excluded executive compensation. We've excluded their airplanes. We've excluded their stock options. So all we do is audit them, and accountability is prime one. So we don't need another layer of accountability by hiring somebody to do this. Now, anyway, why don't you go ahead, Bobby, and do your 2 minutes, and then I'm going to get back to you with similar questions.
Okay. And this is Mr. Paul Pratt to my right, far right. He is from SWPCO and is in charge of Director of Regulatory and
Customer Services and Marketing.
And he's been directly involved in this process from day one. We've been at it a long time. And I have some important points to make for all. Considering everything, and just like you asked, That's a fair question.
Hey, Bobby, can you speak closer to your mic, please? Thank you.
You can just move the microphone, Bob.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to move it around, kind of sit this way. We have been through an administrative process. We used one. We had one back in 2015. We had an administrator, a third-party administrator that we brought in to hire, and we worked with them. And ultimately, we decided we could do better ourselves. We got rid of the contract. So we went through that process, and what we saw was rate increase, a cost increase that could be handled better. And I want to let you know these are real people. They're here, like two of them in the back. Ms. Miller, can you raise your hand? And Steve, can you raise your hand? Those two are examples of two that do this work on a daily basis, and they've done an excellent job. We got their report card. I mean, it's an A+. I can't give them any better grade. They had, we got 52,000 customers served through this program now. By the way, somebody brought up union employees and all that. We have 36 companies vetted and working for us, 33 right there in the local area. We take all companies. But some are union, some may not be, but they're union. SWEPCO is a union company. We're an IBEW company. So we address all of that. The cost, we think, are going to go up. We're going to go up 113%. We're going to give you a number. Can that be off some? We're not, nobody's going to guarantee it, but that is our best estimate. And we've seen it before with an administrator. This isn't something we're just guessing at.
Bobby, let me ask you a quick question and refresh my memory because I want to make sure I get this accurate. The previous contractor you're talking about was Clear Result, right?
Correct.
Okay, and they actually ran it for all the investor-owned utilities at that time, I think. Yeah.
Commissioner's Committee,
right.
that's correct.
Okay, and they charged statewide $14 million, if I'm correct, statewide. That was their administrative fee to run the energy efficiency program.
I think that's about correct.
That's
Okay.
That's correct.
And what year was that? Was it about 7 years ago?
2015. I'm sure it was that year. It may have carried over into
Okay,
another
so
year.
it's 7, 8 years ago.
Right.
So my point about this, and this is important for the commissioners and the public to understand this, that was a administrator of an energy efficiency program. And what we did with that is we had them cancel the administrator. They went to their own internal mechanism, but the commission took that money, and instead of letting them have a public administrator, we converted that into the public entity program. And that, since then, $100 million has been spent on the public entity program through the 5 commission districts on helping local governments improve the quality of life for students and families in Louisiana, and that's money that wasn't wasted on a public administrator because of the absolute ridiculousness of paying that much money to a public administrator when the companies themselves were better suited to administrate, and that same amount of money, the Public Service Commission administrates that whole program, like I said before, for $125,000, including the $25,000 each commissioner has to pay an engineer to go out and double-check projects. So I'm not against spending money. My dear departed mother taught me that get the value for money. And I guarantee you my mother was buried with the first penny she ever made. And she taught me how to be very close and very effective with spending money. But what you're talking about, Bobby, is the money that we saved on a public administrator in Clear Result is money that paid for every community, that affected every person in this room to have a better quality of life. And that's my problem with this public administrator program. But I'll digress. I just wanted to make that point while you were making this particular point about your administrator.
And if I can give you all just some specifics, because that's what you all need. You need specifics. And SWEPCO is, by the way, very much supportive of this program. That's why we're trying to give you how we spun the program and made it work. But the costs are pretty big. The delivery costs from with the administrator, we decreased from 52% of the total budget in 2015 to 16% of the total budget in 2023. So for us, it was a budget increase, and we have, I think, 7 people working on this pretty much all the time. That's what they do. They do this. Also, we do have different programs, and we do have here's a residential low-income program, and we have been serving those customers for quite some time. 4,394 or 12% qualified as low income back I guess last year. So we are part of our program overall. We do select the best locally based contractors. You don't just go get on a list. You kind of try to cull them, and they spent quite some time doing it. So these are all different ways to do them. We're not saying exactly what's right, exactly what's wrong, but this way has worked for us and our customers. And we think it's brought a benefit to them, and there are more to come. Lots of other stats. Like last year, we did 1,604 projects in 2023 alone. So it's a very active, vibrant program that is working for us. And it's, you know, I think all of you having local input is important, and what occurs is really important. You got the big public projects that we do, but we also have the other. And I think it's set up where we take guidance really not from an administrator, and we certainly are listening to our experts, but from each of you. And that's what we want to do. It's a public service commission driven project. That's the way we view it. And so that's how we're trying to make it work.
Okay, thank you all for coming.
I actually have a question for Mr. Gillen.
You want me to, I have the answers
Go ahead and
for
answer.
both y'all. Okay, so the four states you talked about, this is from EIA data, EIA.gov. I encourage everyone to go to that website. I love it. There's a lot of great information there. And it's pretty easy to search on your phone. So October 2023 would be the most recent kilowatt hour, and this is residential. All these numbers I'm gonna give you residential. Louisiana was 11.92 cents. Oregon was 13.24. Wisconsin 17.05. Vermont 22.11, and Hawaii 42.69. That's cents per kilowatt hour. To Commissioner Lewis's question, the most recent annual data on usage is 2022. 2023 is not final. Louisiana was 1231 kWh per customer. That was the highest. There were 8 states with over 1,100 average and 21 with over 1,000. The regional averages, East Central was 1163, and West Central, where Louisiana is located, is 1177. So
Are they averaging the industrials into that?
No, that's straight up residential.
So straight
They're
up
separate.
residential?
So I figured since we're talking residential, you want
Right.
residential numbers, and I just did math because I like doing it.
Yeah.
Foster, I know that'll
Foster
make
is
you
happy about that.
But if you multiply the average kilowatt hour sales times average usage, the average customer's bill in Louisiana would be $146.73, Vermont $130, Wisconsin $116.62, Hawaii $219.85, and Oregon $125.25.
So Louisiana would be one of the highest.
Out of the states with administrators, correct.
Thank you.
Well, we can.
Hawaii would be the highest.
No,
but it's-
Hawaii's that, so,
Hey,
you know.
Brandon, if I may say one thing, one point that I was trying to clarify was when you're talking about electric usage, that's correct, but you also have energy usage.
Yeah,
and
this
it's
is all,
the
I'm just
northern
going
states that
electric
have
here. This is electric.
gas
So
and
this is
heating oil.
kilowatt hour per
Thank you.
customer
Right.
and kilowatt hour averages.
But how does it look against states that don't have administrators? That's my real
Well,
question. You go back on that again, all right? Because, I mean, that's where,
What
I
do
mean,
you-
we
I
gotta.
mean, I could give you the regional, I can give you every state.
Well, I understand.
So
Well-
in the southeast region, west south central where Louisiana is located, we're the lowest, 11.92. Arkansas is 12.71. Oklahoma 13.27. Texas 14.71. And then east central, Kentucky is the lowest there, 12.99. Mississippi 13.67. I'm sorry, Tennessee was lower, 12.57, and Alabama 15.02.
So we're still the lowest in the areas without administrators.
I think we're like 5th lowest in October.
Right. So, but those are old numbers. That's 2022, right?
No, this is
That's
October
the-
2023.
that's the new
numbers
one?
I was giving
Okay,
you.
all
That's
right.
the most recent data they've got.
So my point is, I don't want to compare us against, you know, incorrect comparisons, that's all. I want to look at it because if we were going to look at us for where we are without administrators, but we have our own program and we're successful at it, because that's the real question, you know, and my question to you, Bobby, is, and really, I'm going to go through with y'all, and do you feel that since changing from the clear result model that we had some years ago, do you feel that the program is a success? that we've gone to the current model? And do you think, as part B to that question, do you think that the problem could become more successful just by budget increase and commission-driven new projects?
Commissioner I'm gonna let Mr. Pratt speak
Yeah,
to
you
that,
go ahead.
But is it a success? Yes, and that's what all of these measures indicate, from that group that they've achieved back there through hard work and following up, being innovative as well.
Right, and you, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Scametta. What I was gonna talk about is, since we've taken these programs in-house, participation has been discussed here a lot today, and I commend the folks in the room for their focus and being engaged in the process. It's what we need. And for us, that is what we're doing. We're trying to engage as many customers in our jurisdiction as possible. And when you have these high layers of administrative costs, those are dollars that can't go directly to the customer that needs it the most. And so our task, since taking this in-house, is to have the lowest possible administrative costs that we can have so that more customers can participate, so that more low-income customers can participate, so that local contractors who we are trade allies with, 33 local HVAC and insulating contractors, they build these programs into their model over years of work and fine-tuning. By saying yes to this, we're going to eliminate all that, and you're going to be starting from scratch in areas that it's not necessary. The utilities have already been down this road. I understand we want to increase participation rates across the state, and we're fully supportive of that. But to tear down what the utilities have already built and fine-tuned just doesn't make financial sense. I can't find a positive in that.
Right, well, have you given some thought to the potential employment loss associated with this, shifting from a non-administrated to a public administrated program?
Right, as Mr. Klinghammer has kind of indicated, we have a little bit of a road here to redeploy resources and whatnot, but what I'm more worried about are those local businesses that have incorporated and adapted and taken these programs to, again, build into their business model.
Right. Yeah, well, again, because there's nobody here that doesn't want to do an energy efficiency program, okay? I think that's a universal concept but even the companies, the commissioners, the general public, everybody wants to do something. And it's about efficiencies, and it's about not being wasteful, and it's about being economically driven, okay? But there's a lot of people that are out there going, ooh, we're going to get an administrator, and we're going to have lots of extra money, and we can all put our hand out. So it's not the general public who are going to benefit. I want a program where it's 100% the general public benefits, and there's not special interests who are going to come in and go, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to be paid this, and I want to be paid that. And with administrative fees and public manager fees, there's already people out there clamoring around the blood and the water on this. And it's largely unnecessary. Because if you tell me that you're telling me right now, the program as it exists now works, and if we had more money, we could do more energy efficiency, but the program and the methodology works.
Yes, Commissioner Scametta, as a matter of fact, we have a waiting list, waiting for the budget to renew from year to year.
Okay, so that's it. Mr. Hand, what about you guys? Does the program as it works, and if we had more money, can we get more accomplished?
I would say for ELL, our utility-led program has been very successful. Moving toward a higher budget and more permanent, sustainable program will allow it to become more successful.
Okay, Mr. Kleehammer.
I agree with both of those comments. Same thing for CLECO.
Okay, and what about you, Mr. Gillum?
Yes, we do, and I'll give you one other number that I think helps. This means for every dollar spent on the programs as they now stand, it results in over $4.60 in energy savings benefits. So
Okay.
It's working. And
So you're good with the fact that the program as it exists now, if it just had more money in the budget, we could be accomplishing more?
What I'm saying is the dollars we have now go to what can achieve the most. There's nothing in between to go. They're going to go to the individual who's trying to achieve these energy savings, low income or otherwise.
Well,
that's what we're trying to do.
Let me ask the question again. So you're happy with the system, but you see if we had more money in the budget, we could be accomplishing more value and more accomplishment.
Correct.
That is correct, Commissioner Scametta.
All right.
It could serve more
All right.
people.
Well, I'm done. I'd like to speak to our consultant.
Okay, thank you guys. for
We do
coming
have
in.
one more individual constituent who
Yeah, we
would
can-
like to speak.
I can wait until after that.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
There you go, one more. Okay, we got
Mr.
one more. Who is that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Harlan. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You want to go back there?
Is that Harlan?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm,
Sorry we put you off so late.
I am James Harlan. I'm from Covington, Louisiana. I'm a chemical engineer with a doctorate in public policy. I've worked in energy policy in the past, not recently, but have been an energy businessman in the storage field, natural gas storage. What impresses me about this conversation is that the real problem with enabling consumers in Louisiana, many of whom were poor, as Commissioner Lewis points out, is that they don't have the capital to implement energy efficiency. The problem is getting capital to people to do sensible things that will save everybody money. And if the budget is limited, then, and it is allocated out of some program that's by the legislature or required of the utilities as part of the social contract that the gentleman mentioned. Basically, the utilities have a monopoly. They do things in exchange for the monopoly. They also have better access to capital. So every time I've heard this, and I haven't studied this, there are people that live and breathe this stuff. I've just came to this meeting because I knew this was on the agenda. Well, is there a possibility, and I don't want to slow down I wouldn't want to do anything to slow down adopting something that has taken 13 years to get up to a decision point. And the arguments here have been, who's guarding the hen house? The problem is getting capital into the hands of people who don't have capital.
Can I answer your question? I think I have an answer for you.
Well,
Commissioner.
Okay, I just want
Mike.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I'll let you finish.
So if the utility companies are in charge of the process with their own capital and are able to recover the money that they have to invest to help people save energy, then then that's a direction that is needed. I don't think that's addressed by what you've been talking about here.
Well, let me explain to you, and I think this will help you with understanding what we do in the public entity portion, which is a big half of this program is going to be public entity. And when we created the public entity program, what the commission does is it allows independent contractors to go out to the state, to go to governmental agencies and say, the commission has a program. And the commission says we can change out old technology for new technology, lighting, predominantly lighting. Or sometimes they could do air conditioning, things that help improve energy consumption, right? And the government says, I'm going to sign a contract with you to do it. The contractor puts up the money. He does the job. We approve it as commissioners. We say you get a letter from us saying you can do it. The contractor does the job gets completed, the consumer puts up no money, and when it's over, the government signs off on it, the contractor signs off on it, the engineer that we all have on our staff signs off on it, and the utility pays the contractor. So the money does not have to come from the government. The program that I suggested for the weatherization program for the commission was to do the same thing, but with a $10,000 credit to low-income homes, to where contractors could go to low-income folks, and the way I suggested a parameter was 65 and over, fixed-income folks that are homeowners, that they could go do that, and the contractors could meet with them, they could offer them what they could do, they could do the $10,000 credit. If they wanted to do more, they could do more. They want to do less, they could do less. But the contractor bears the burden of the $10,000. Our engineer goes out and checks it, and then the utility pays the $10,000 to the contractor. The contractor shoulders the burden. So the homeowner does not have to do it. And that program has worked for 8 years. So that same program is what I have suggested, and it has been rejected on the concept, let's hire an administrator and just spend a lot of money. That's what my argument has been about this whole thing is we can take money and put it to work for the public and help literally 500 homes a year get fixed, 100 in each district, for the cost of an administrator. And I hope that shows how we could do that.
I get the point about administrative efficiency, but that's a drop in the bucket relative to the
If
scope of the
we'd have
problem.
done this, but that's 500 homes a year. Every year that gets done, it doesn't take long. Let me tell you, time flies when you're getting old, Haas. Let me explain. But it doesn't take long in a commissioner's cycle. That's 3,000 homes. I mean, you're talking about a lot of homes get done very quickly when you're talking about doing it on a regular basis. You get this done and you accomplish a task. You can't say, well, we're going to wipe out energy loss in 5 minutes. You've got to have a plan, and you have to take the old joke about the old statement of a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. If you go to an energy efficiency program through a government administrator, he's going to be sitting around figuring out what he's going to do. And you know, you're an engineer, you said?
And the public policy.
But you were an engineer first?
Yes.
Yeah. You know what they used to say about engineers? You could talk about the extrovert engineer as the guy who looks at the other guy's shoelaces, right? Because, you know, these guys are going to talk about it. But we've got a living example of what works on the concept of home weatherization, because we can apply the public entity program to do home weatherization. There's been a lot of discussion about the federal money that was going to come in, this $220-something million. But that's all over at the State Department of Natural Resources, and the commission's not going to have anything to do with it. I can tell you that right now. We're having to do this with our own concept of what we can do, and we can build that into our program. But you got to find the money to do it. And my theory is, I just don't want to waste money, and I don't want to waste this administrative cost. That's all. But I'm like you. I'm like you. I want to do this, but I want to do it and hit the ground running.
The energy business, the utilities have the capital. They know how to deploy capital, and they can provide the capital to low-income consumers if the system is set up to do that, and they can earn money on the capital. The conversation's here about who guards the hen house.
Well, they can't.
If it's the utilities' monies, they should be guarding their own
Well, they've got shareholder
They have the customer relationships.
No, I understand. They've got shareholder responsibility and they've got issues, but we can accomplish stuff if we don't force them to take too big a bite. But if we approach this and say, instead of spending $5 million on an administrator, and we take that $5 million and put it to work, we show how it works now, and we look at it in a year, there's always things we can do to change it, right? Because we're looking at now, we've got a $30 million budget on public entities. What we're talking about now is going to a $150 million budget on on energy efficiency statewide is $30 million. We're talking about going to $150 million. We're talking about doing a lot more work and getting a lot more accomplished. So we have real opportunity. So I just want to let you know, what you're talking about is right. There are ways we have shown that it can be done, and we have to be very conscious of the fact that we just can't go to a private company and say, we're taking all your money and we're going to do this. We have to do this in a meaningful way, in a legal way, and I think that the appropriate way for us to do this is look at, instead of spending money in this pile, we take and spend it this way that we can all agree on, and we can move it forward to affect and impact the lives of people immediately. That's all. Because otherwise we're going to be fooling around until we get towards October with this, and nothing will happen between now and October. And even after that, and I'll give you an example of this.
Commissioners, pardon.
Wait, no, I'm not finished. I'm going to give you an example of this, a quick example. No, just stop this, please. Control yourself. We're not done. We're not done. Yep. We've got more stuff to do.
Order.
We got to do. Look, behave yourself. We got one more person we've got to interview. Look, we're in this issue right now, okay? All right? But we've got to understand that you're right, there's ways to achieve this goal, okay? But we can't accomplish this the way you're talking about just going and like scooping, right? The problem that I have with this, okay, is we're going to vote on this, and I already know it's going to pass, so y'all can relax. That it's going to, all right? Go ahead. Say, all right. Well, you're just making it last longer. All right? This is going to be something that is not going to be started even to the point where we look at it, administrator, maybe until October, okay? And then that administrator's got to develop the plan. So this is going to be spooling around in the universe. But what also happens, and y'all have not read this plan that they've put into place, is that for the first 4 years of this administrative cycle, he gets to take the energy efficiency success of the utilities and take credit for that. And in the 4th year, because in his contract, he's got to achieve 0.5% increase in energy efficiency to show that he's accomplished his goal. But he gets to take credit for the 0.4% that the utilities make in the first 4 years. So he only has to show an increase of 0.1%. So he gets to effectively copy the homework of the utilities for the first 4 years. So he gets to get a 4-year contract for $5 million and not accomplish anything. There is a lot in this that takes fine magnifying glasses to read and understand what this is about. And I'm just telling you, my concerns are, I don't want to see the public scalped. I want us to get value. So I want you to know what you want is right, but there's a way to get it done, and I don't see it being this way. So thank you.
Do we have another card or another gentleman to speak?
This gentleman indicated he'd like to speak.
I just wanted to say that we have 80 people.
I'm sorry, wait, please introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Broderick Baggert. I'm with Together Louisiana. We have 80 people who have taken off work, who've gotten childcare, who've studied this issue to make the effort to be here. And part of the conversation is taking on the quality of a filibuster that appears an attempt to just drag this out in perpetuity.
Mr. Baggert,
And I would just ask the commission to respect the time of the people who are making a sacrifice to be here.
Mr. Baggert, we've had meetings that have gone 8 hours on other issues, so this is not taking that long.
Thank you, Mr. Baggert, and I also want to say I believe people have read this rule. So to say that people don't know what's in the rule is highly offensive to the public that is standing here today.
Okay, the chair is going to call for a vote on exhibit number 13.
Actually, I've got to talk to the consultant. I've got to talk to the consultant. I've got several questions for him.
I motion to move to previous question.
A consultant?
Yeah, the Kennedy and Associates who did the work on the actual deal.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I believe it is an acceptable motion under our rules. I move to previous question and ask a second to take a vote.
Well, I think that you're trying not to hear the truth from the consultant. You're trying to slide this in. And if you're afraid of the truth, you're afraid of the truth, Commissioner. That's okay.
Let me ask, is there a card for a consultant to speak?
He works for us.
Mr. Hayat and his associate, Ms. Wilburn, are here. They have filled out a card if there were questions of the
I'd ask
commissioners.
if anyone who's filled out a card is welcome to speak.
Well,
so
and
let them come up.
and they work for us anyway, Commissioner.
Well, I didn't know. I'd ask if there were any more cards. I thought that was all the cards.
Yes, sir. Well, cards from the public was first, obviously, and then our consultants always go last, just to answer any other questions that the commissioners may have.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my motion at that time.
Sorry, I didn't know you were lined up to speak. My apologies, Mr. Chair.
And Phil, you got to press the button in the middle. There you go.
Good morning, Commissioners. Phil Hayat on behalf of the staff, and I'm here with Ms. Leah Wellborn, who has been associated on and off with our firm for 10 years, and she has been fundamental in assisting in helping to develop the rule.
Good morning, Commission. I just got a few questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Chair recognizes Commissioner Scametta.
Mr. Hyatt, you came down to my office, you met with me, Ms. Bowman, and my executive assistant. We talked about the work that you did for the commission.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Okay. During it, I asked you a question, which was pretty straightforward. I asked you, does the current program for public entities and the utilities program, does it work? Does it work effectively? You remember what you told me?
Yeah, I can't remember every word I said to you, but
I got video of it if you
now,
want
I
it.
would say to you, yes, I think
Yeah.
it does work.
Yeah, it does work. And and I asked you, why are we doing something more than that other than expanding the budget? Do you remember what you told me?
Commissioner, I can't remember every word I said.
Well, I'll refresh your memory and tell you that you really said, well, you weren't real sure other than you said, we'll see if we can do better. And it was sort of a non-response of it.
Commissioner, I believe I said that every program has pros and cons.
So now you remember, which is good. Thank you.
That is what I remember.
So now you remember, which is good.
Yes.
I'm always glad when you remember, because it makes me happy, okay? I had some issues about a lot of these things that you came in, and, we literally had to, I'm looking for these, I had some very specific things. I'm sorry, and I'm looking for this. What do you think of the component in there that I just talked about with these folks about the administrator being able to utilize the work of the utilities for the first few years to take advantage of their performance as part of their overall performance success of that 0.5%?
I think that a lot will build on what has already been done, and I think that's true. I think that they will make use of, they will start by looking at the programs that exist. They will use their knowledge of what has existed across the country, and I think that they'll try to use best practice to develop the best programs that they can.
Okay.
So I think their objective will be to build on what we have and to improve upon.
And they're going to get paid to take advantage of all the previous work and knowledge to make a plan 4 years later, then?
That's true.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. In your report, how much did you charge the Public Service Commission for the report?
0.
Now, you see, the staff tells me it was $160,000.
Over the past year, we haven't charged the commission 1 penny.
Well, staff?
Our work probably has amounted to over $70,000 of unbilled revenues to the commission. I think what you're referring to is that we have been the consultant that has been involved in this since day one, going back to 2013.
Well, hang on a second.
So I
'cause I'm
think
gonna ask
those
Ms. Bowman.
costs that you're referring to are embedded in that entire period.
Well, yeah, I'm going to ask the staff, because I was looking at the cost of the report to the commission.
The Commissioner, off the top of my head, I don't know how
'Cause
much,
when-
but
we
Mr.
discussed this before, and you told me it was like $160,000.
And they probably have charged $160,000 to work on this.
Okay.
But however, Mr. Hayes is right for probably the last at least 9 months, 10 months. If you recall, we did a scope expansion October, I believe. But prior to that, he had not been billing.
Good, and I'm trying to move this along so I can get this over with. How did you conceptualize the concept of an administrator and a public manager?
You mean the statewide third-party administrator?
Yeah.
It was under the direction of the commission's interest in having that. The commission itself has a desire to look at that, and we were asked to do that, and we have.
So where did you come up with the idea?
The idea was working in cooperation with the commission.
So where did you find, did you develop the language? You just kind of pulled it out and did it?
Well, we reviewed along the way work that's been done in Oregon, Wisconsin, Hawaii. That helped to conceptualize what needed to be done, and therefore that led us to the rule as you see it.
Well, one of the problems I have is I went and looked at the Department of Energy's website, and it looks like, and I've showed this to staff, it looks like you just copied their work.
I think that's patently false.
Well, I'm just telling you what it looks like, and
I'm sorry to push back. With all due respect, you'd have to show me what you're talking about, but I think that's patently false.
And after the meeting, I'd like you to go meet with Catherine, and she's going to show you, because the concept of the administrator and the public manager are pretty much close to being identical from the Department of Energy's website under the Biden administration mechanism.
I told you that the way that this rule has come about was through a review of rules in other states and it worked off of the quick start rule that we had. There was no attempt to use any work product from the Department of Energy as you're suggesting.
Did you use work product from the other states?
As guide, yes, as guide. Yes, sir.
All right. Do you think that the program, if, as we have it now, if we expanded the budget, could still be successful without an administrator if we just put more money into the program and move forward?
Well, Commissioner, I'll answer it this way. The Alliance for, I'm sorry, the ACEEE, who's here.
Can you give me the acronym statement of what that is?
The American.
For Energy Efficient Economy.
Who's that?
They were here. Mr. Wright was sitting up here in front of you.
Go ahead.
Okay. They're considered the organization that's the most involved as promoting energy efficiency in the U.S.
So they're in all 50 states?
They're probably in all 50 states.
So that's
they have come out and said that it has a lot more to do with the commission regulation than it has to do with the specific model that you develop. So I'm trying to answer your question that I think that you could be successful with any direction that you go as long as you have a very involved, active commission that attempts to oversee and has oversight over the program.
Have you determined that this commission is an active commission in its current energy efficiency program?
I think this meeting indicates you have significant interest in overseeing the program.
And what about the past performance of the commission and, its spend and its oversight over the utilities and what they do?
Yes, I think you've done that. I think you would, again, whatever direction that this commission chooses, I think the management, for example, if you continue with the utility plan, I think this commission being actively involved in overseeing would ensure the success. And I think that if you go with a statewide third-party administrator, it's still going to take an active oversight role of this commission to ensure the success. And I think that the program can be successful either way.
Some years ago, when I was first on the commission, we discussed issues associated with environmental impact statements, and then we started looking at economic impact statements. Do you look at the economic impact between the two type of plans that you look at when you do this, with administrative versus non-administrative?
Commissioner, it's very difficult, and what we're going to have in terms of getting to the bottom line numbers, which you're suggesting, is that you're going to have an RFP, and you're going to bid, and you're going to emphasize the lowest cost, the lowest administrative cost. That's an important aspect, again, in the important oversight role of the commission, the emphasis of the lowest administrative cost possible. So the utilities have gotten the message, as you heard the utilities speak today, as to attempting to lower the administrative costs. And I think when you go through the process, the competitive solicitation process, I think you'll attempt to achieve the lowest administrative costs through that process as well.
How do you guarantee the commission votes to hire the lowest bid?
How do I guarantee? I can't give you a guarantee that the commission will hire the lowest bid. I think the commission attempts to hire the best bid based on the judgment that you use.
Well, it doesn't always work out that way. So anyway, all right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you all for all your hard work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got Exhibit 13 before us for a vote.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to call a vote.
And just to clarify for the record, Commissioner Green made a motion. Commissioner Lewis suggested some amendments, which Commissioner Green, you agree with?
So yeah, I would like to copy his into mine and make a motion that we accept that
With
combined
those
motion.
amendments. And Commissioner
How
Lewis,
about going over the motion again?
you would second that?
That makes sense.
Yes, sir.
So, and that's the case, we'll vote on the motion and then the rule. Is that correct?
No, I think it's all one. It's all one. Okay.
The motion.
Proceed.
In summary, what are we voting on? Just go
So
through it.
we're adopting the Phase 2 rules that were filed into the record. with a modification by Commissioner Green saying the utilities are not allowed to recover lost contribution of fixed cost unless they can prove that they're under earning because of energy efficiency. And then Commissioner Lewis's amendments were to dedicate 15% of the budget to low income and 10% of the budget to rental properties.
Okay, that's it.
Yes, sir, that's it. So it was a motion by Commissioner Green and a second by Commissioner Lewis, opposition by Commissioner Skrmetta. So we'll do a roll call vote.
If there's no other additions, we'd like to ask Commissioner Skrmetta, how do you vote?
No.
Commissioner Green, how do you vote?
I vote yes, but I'll have a statement as well. Customers want and need to lower their bills and need tools to do this, and our new rule has potential to unleash competition in the energy efficiency market and deliver real accountable savings to customers. Further, we know there's discussion in other dockets that we have about adding new utility generation to customers' bills. A robust energy efficiency market has the potential to mitigate the need for adding new generation to customers' bills. The least expensive generation plant for customers is the one they're not forced to pay for. I vote yes.
Commissioner Campbell, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis, how do you vote?
Yes.
The chair votes no, and the Exhibit 13 as amended is approved. What? We'd like to have a 5-minute recess. like to, ask Ms. Bowman to, open up the next exhibit. Ms. Bowman, what exhibit are we on, number 7?
Yes, sir, number 7.
Okay, everybody look on exhibit number 7.
Exhibit number 7 is docket number T36703. It's the Commission versus Couillon Douillon's Moving Company. It's an alleged violation of revised statute 45161 through 180.1 by engaging in activities related to moving household goods prior to complying with requirements of revised statute 45164E and general order dated March 16, 2021 for failure to comply with the requirements of general order dated April 3, 2008 as amended. It's a discussion and possible vote on a recommendation of the ALJ. Staff conducted an investigation into the moving company and determined that they were not registered with the commission but was advertising for services as an intrastate household goods mover. And based on these findings, issued a citation on March 31st, 2023, notice of a hearing date delivered to them via FedEx on August 22nd, 2023. At the hearing, the company did not appear and present a defense. The recommendation of the ALJ was issued on December 29th, 2023. At the hearing, staff requested that the company be found guilty of violating the revised statutes by engaging in activities related to moving household goods prior to complying with the revised statutes and the Commission's general order, be found guilty of violating the 2008 general order, and be fined $1,000 and required to pay a $25 citation fee. At the hearing, staff proved that the company violated revised statute 45164E and 2021 general order by holding itself out as an intrastate household goods moving company in online advertisements without first obtaining commission authority. Additionally, the advertisements did not list a commission certificate number in violation of the 2008 general order as amended. Based on this testimony and the documents admitted into evidence, the ALJ recommends that the commission issue an order finding that Couillon Douillon's Moving Company is guilty of violating revised statute 45164E1 and the commission's general order dated March 16, 2021, that the moving company is guilty of violating the commission's general order dated April 3, 2008, and that the moving company is fined $1,000 and has assessed a $25 citation fee.
I move we accept staff recommendation.
And I had one comment. Commissioner Campbell wanted to know if I thought that Couillon Douillon was from Gina, and I said I didn't think so. You know? So there's a motion by to accept staff's recommendation by Commissioner Lewis and seconded by the chairman. Any discussion or objections? Seeing none, 7 is passed.
Exhibit number 8 is docket number T36843. This is the Commission versus 3B Group Corporation in regarding a cancellation of registration and insurance certificate number 1599 for failure to file an annual report for 2022 and/or pay a late filing fee of $500 and a citation fee of $25 as required by General Order 2 and General Order dated March 18, 2021. This is also a discussion and possible vote on a recommendation of the ALJ. Staff alleges that 3B Group failed to file its 2022 annual report and pay a $500 late fee, and at the hearing on October 12, 2023, 3B did not appear and present a defense. Because 3B did not appear, staff also had the burden of demonstrating that 3B was provided notice of a fair hearing and opportunity to present a defense, and the recommendation of the ALJ was issued on December 27, 2023. Staff mailed a citation to the company's address on file, directing them to appear at the hearing, but was returned undeliverable, labeled a fix, return to sender attempted, not known, unable to forward. At the hearing, staff did not present any documentation connecting the Colleyville address or the individual on the phone that spoke to staff related to 3B. The Commission has ruled, consistent with Louisiana courts, that a carrier cannot defeat service by refusing certified mail, finding that when a plaintiff sends certified mail to a defendant at the correct address and the defendant simply refuses to accept the package, this is still sufficient service, but by contrast, where there's a defect in the envelope, service is insufficient. There was a ruling on a motion to continue and notice of rescheduling the hearing date that was sent to the Colleyville, Texas address. It was returned unclaimed. However, there was no evidence that the address to which it was mailed was correct address for 3B. Therefore, there is no evidence that 3B refused to claim the certified mail. Since staff did not carry its additional burden of proving that 3B was provided fair notice of the allegations, the hearing date, and the opportunity to present a defense,
202.
it is not appropriate at this time to revoke 3B's authority. The ALJ recommends that the proceeding be dismissed without prejudice.
Chairman recommends that we accept the law judge's recommendations on exhibit number 8.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Lewis. Any discussion? Hearing none, exhibit 8 is approved.
Exhibit number 9 is docket number 36976. This is a Commission versus CM Movers. It's an alleged violation of General Order dated April 3rd, 2008 as amended for advertising under a name other than the carrier's legal and or registered name and for failure to include their common carrier certificate number 8323-A in all advertising. It's a discussion and possible vote pursuant to Rule 57 on affidavit and stipulation executed by the carrier. This will need 2 votes. As a result of the complaint submitted to transportation staff, a citation was issued to CM Movers on September 15, 2023, and based on the aforementioned allegations and violations. In response to that citation, the manager of the company executed an affidavit and stipulation on behalf of the company admitting to violating all violations alleged in the citation and agreed to the imposition of a $1,000 fine and a $25 citation fee, with $500 being suspended contingent on the conditions that the carrier not be found guilty of any rules or regulations of the commission for a period of 3 years, and removed all advertisement in the name of Movers, NOLA, or any other name that is not CM Movers, and will include its LPSC common carrier certificate in any and all advertisements. Staff recommends that the commission, 1, exercise of the original and primary jurisdiction under Rule 57 to consider the affidavit and stipulation, and 2, accept the affidavit and stipulation executed on November 21st, 2023 for fines and fees totaling $525.
Chairman recommends we take this up under Rule 57, exhibit number 9.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Campbell. I'll make a motion that we accept the staff recommendation for this,
I'll second.
for exhibit 9, and seconded by Commissioner Campbell. So exhibit 9 is passed.
Exhibit number 10 is docket number R31106. This is the Commission's rulemaking to study the possible development of financial incentives for the promotion of energy efficiency by jurisdictional electric and gas utilities. It's a discussion and possible vote to retain an engineer for District 1. And also, just so you guys know, the next 2 exhibits are very similar for other districts. Pursuant to the Commission's general order dated December 2nd of 2021, each commissioner can nominate a qualified engineering firm to provide professional services for each district for the political subdivision energy efficiency program, subject to the Commission's confirmation, vote, and approval. Based on this Commission's general order, Commissioner Skrmetta nominates Nathan Nunez of Linfield Hunter and Nunez to serve as his engineering firm for District 1 for 2024. Based on the Commission's general order and the allocation of political subdivision portion of the energy efficiency program to District 1, the engineering services shall not exceed $23,936.35. Staff recommends that the Commission approve Commissioner Skrmetta's nomination of Linfield Hunter and Nunez to assist District 1 with the political subdivision energy efficiency program for a total budget not to exceed of $23,936.35.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Is it possible to ball all 3 of them up together, or we got to do a sheet separate?
I'll just read the staff recommendation if we can move it along that way, since we've already talked about the substance. But Exhibit 11 is the same docket, R31106.
We had a motion second.
Yes.
Just make sure we get that, okay.
Yeah.
Staff's recommendation on exhibit number 11 related to R31106 is pursuant to the Commission's general order dated December 2nd, 2021. Staff recommends that the Commission approve Commissioner Lewis's nomination of Bott and Associates to assist District 3 with its political subdivision energy efficiency program for a total budget not to exceed of $23,878.16.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'd just like to comment that we've enjoyed working with these engineers. I'm very proud of what we've done. And we've been doing that in-house. We didn't hire any executives to help us. So that's a kind of a friendly suggestion to Commissioner Skrmetta's argument. So, okay, those are passed.
Exhibit number 12 is also docket number R31106. It's a discussion and possible vote to retain an engineer for District 4. And pursuant to the Commission's general order dated December 2nd, 2021, staff recommends that the Commission approve Chairman Francis's nomination of D. Hicks Consulting to assist District 4 with its political subdivision energy efficiency program for a total budget not to exceed of $29,592.63.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Any objection? And Exhibit 12 passed.
We have already handled Exhibit 13. Exhibit 14 is deferred, so moving to Exhibit 15.
13 and 14?
Yes, sir.
Deferred, both.
Oh, no, 13 was the vote, was energy efficiency.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
Exhibit 15 is the docket R36832. It's the Commission's investigation of jurisdictional electric, water, wastewater, and gas utilities' use of ratepayer funds on political spending. It's a discussion and possible vote to retain E9 Insight.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is it possible to avoid the hire and just offer a motion that to provide that all political spending be prohibited to the ratepayers and be only allocated to the shareholders, and just eliminate the need for any hire on this?
In my opinion, you would get into some due process concerns.
Well, I mean, we already prohibit a lot of activity from the, for the utilities on executive compensation and other things, and tell them that their shareholders have to pay it. And instead of hiring somebody to do this, I think in general, most of the utilities don't utilize ratepayer money to do this. And I think that they're not going to fly back at us and allege due process concerns. And if we did it this way, just to prohibit it, that we could, save the money on it, and we could go ahead and just prohibit it and be done with it.
So I know that some of our utilities have eliminated the executive compensation and things of that nature. My appreciation, those have been in docketed proceedings where we've had those negotiations and conversations. Those have mostly been the IOUs. This also is for the large natural gas as well as the large water and wastewater. I don't know if we've had those same type of conversations with those utilities.
Well, when I saw this come up, I did make some phone calls around water companies, gas companies, just to say, look, I want to find out if you're going to have a problem if we just tell you you're going to take this to your shareholders and be done with it, so we don't have these kind of concerns for the public. And they didn't have any problem with it. So that's the thing is, if we just want to maybe stay this a month, find out, have the staff do a general call around and see if they have a problem with it.
Review of the financial.
Well, I would suggest if that was the route we wanted to go, we would just straight up publish the draft rule prohibiting it and then take comments on it, and then you could have it for vote. So if the concern would be due process, then there would be an opportunity to comment between now and the next meeting.
If we have any opposition due process, then we hire somebody. But if not, then we just go ahead and kill it and be done with it and send it to the shareholders and then eliminate it. I mean, that would seem to be a way to just, A, accomplish the task, and B, save the money. But if we do have any hiccups, we can come back and do the hire.
So
I mean, I don't know if Commissioner Lewis, if you'd be all right with approaching it that way.
Are you suggesting that, Brandon?
No, what I'm saying is if we, picking up on what Commissioner Scomet is saying, if we just straight up ban it and Catherine said, well, we might have due process concerns. Well, I said, if the commission would direct us to publish a rule requiring that no political spending be passed on to ratepayers and it be absorbed by shareholders, we could publish that in the bulletin, take comments on it, and then bring it up for a vote. And I think what he's saying, if we did get comments saying we oppose this, then the hire.
Go forward with the hire then, and then make a determination. I mean, at that point, we do have to make a determination. I mean, the real question is, if you get comments on due process, is hire even going to be something we're going to do anyway? But I mean, we can.
Well, I think if we publish it for comments, then no one can argue due process because they have an opportunity to comment.
Okay, all right, well.
I'm just saying, if we voted today without an opportunity to comment, I'd have those concerns.
Okay, well, my suggestion then, and this is Commissioner Lewis, is that we push it a month, let them publish, to go ahead and do this as a rulemaking to eliminate this and just have prevent public ratepayer spending on political activity, have it only be for shareholders, and then let them go ahead and get comments, and if they, get comments, then we can be where we gotta be. And then if they have a chance to make comments, are the due process, Catherine, are the due process concerns satisfied at that point anyway?
I would think so. If we publish the rule and allow for comment, yes.
Yeah,
okay, so then we won't need a consultant either then, we could just pass it.
One thing too that I'm just realizing is this is a docket that's already open. So we have a service list, so it wouldn't even need to be published in the bulletin. We would literally just file it in the docket, and anyone who's interested in this should have already intervened in the docket.
Well, that's my ask, is that we postpone this and move this towards a rulemaking, and ask Commissioner Lewis if he's okay with that.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm trying to follow along. I'm okay with the rulemaking, but I remember the last time when we opened this docket, it was controversial. The reason, to my understanding, is the definition of political spending is what my original motion to open the docket was asking. So it's not as generic, I think, as you are alluding. To my understanding, what this hire is about is there are certain issues at FERC that are looking at these issues. There are ways that the utilities file. My docket included an extensive definition that looked at advertising, charitable donations. And so while I am fine publishing a rule, I believe when talking with staff, the reason for going this route was to look at the ways that these are being tackled. As you know, this has been a growing topic across the country where legislative bodies have tackled this and directed the commission to do so in jurisdictions where legislative jurisdiction oversees the commission. So while I'm not opposed, I'm not really sure what is different from this, and I would ask staff. I think this was staff's recommendation to be able to get the report to help guide if a rule is needed or how a rule should be drafted if needed, but not to do an exact rule. Which am I correct on that?
You are. So my recollection when we had the discussion and the directive, when the directive was voted on, that Commissioner Lewis put forth, there was question of, do our utilities already do this? Do our utilities already have it below the line? And we weren't sure. Some came to the table and said, yes, we have it below the line. This is not part of our ratepayers funding, but staff is not sure whether some of the other jurisdiction utilities do or do not. So it's a look at their financials and then as well as what are the other definitions out there related to political spending.
I'm not a fan of make work, all right? In the sense, if we just say they
You're-
shall, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
If we just make it the directive or rulemaking that they shall not have any political activity below the line, I mean above the line, but don't do it in the proper language. But as simple as possible, shall not, no permissive language, and just to make it as clear cut and simple without expanding into the types and means, just the simplest clear cut language, and eliminate it completely. And then that way we're done with it. We don't have to worry about.
I appreciate that we have to define, I think, to your point, that could be simple if we have a definition of political spending. If we don't define exactly what political spending is, then it's not clear cut. And so what the directive looked at is how we define whether charitable donations would be considered political spending, whether we would consider advertisement political spending. And I believe the utilities want to be able to comment on that process. And so while I think there is an easy one of executive compensation, there are other further questions that when we open this docket that we were looking at that would not be as easy, clear cut right at this moment. And that's why I think the staff has recommended us at least conduct a report about how these are being defined, not only at FERC, but in other jurisdictions.
So what we could do, because I have your directive language, part of your directive language in front of me, directing staff to open the rulemaking docket and looking at this, it said the inquiry should include examination of jurisdictional utilities charging ratepayers for any activities meant to influence the outcome of any local, state, or federal legislation, ordinance, resolution, rule, measure, or other regulatory decision, advertising, marketing, and/or public relations expenses that do not directly relate to a purpose or program that is required or authorized under statute or commission rule or order, and/or organization or membership dues or other contributions to any organization, association, institution, corporation, or other entity that engages in lobbying or other similar activities meant to influence the outcome of any local, state, or federal legislation, ordinance, resolution, rule, measure, or other regulatory decision. So we could put that for comment to see if that is narrow enough or broad enough, if that was at least a start.
If it was any broader, it'd be the Mississippi River.
To put that out for comment as the rule, recognizing that is broad. So I don't know if utilities would want it to be more narrow than that.
In the next language, I pulled it up off the website, it says, based on these findings, staff shall recommend commission action and protect against improper use and/or recovery of ratepayer funds, such as 1, updated and clarified rules, 2, requirements for regular disclosures of relevant utility spending, and 3, propagation of related enforcement mechanisms. So it contemplates, depending on the research, a rule of some sort.
We've got our own sort of lane to stay in, right? I mean, we're not a lone lane. I mean, and we can affect certainly issues that we have constitutional authority over, right? And so I think if we establish that they can't make any political spending on issues within our constitutional authority, then they can't do it. But if it's outside our constitutional authority, we cannot affect their spend on how they spend it. They can't put it to ratepayers, but they could certainly put it to their shareholders. And I think that's sort of the construct that you have to look at. But again, I think if you just open up the comment and we just keep it in the simplest way that, they can't make any political spending that's charged to the ratepayers. And I think we constitutionally control what is charged to the ratepayers, but we don't get to control what's charged to the shareholders. I think we're on good grounds to control those two aspects. And I think we could probably move that through without them being able to, question our authority over that. I just don't see the need to hire somebody to go into it.
Well, I appreciate that, but Commissioner, you opposed the directive to begin with, and so I'm going to take your comments with a grain of salt, and I would motion to accept staff recommendation.
Yeah, I'm going to oppose and ask for a vote.
Well, we first need a second on Commissioner Lewis's motion.
Okay, no second, so I think it dies for a lack of a second.
Correct.
Okay, moving on.
I'd still ask the staff to look at what I asked them to do about this for next month, just on my behalf, okay?
I did, but he didn't second.
What?
You want a second?
I want to go over the motion again. Completely understand. You made the motion?
I guess we'll rewind, since we already did it.
So this is a motion to retain E9 Insight to help as a consultant to do some research for staff on whether there's political spending
Yeah, well, I'm for that.
bent into rate base.
I'm for that.
I don't think that's fair.
So Commissioner Lewis made a motion
You made the
to
motion, I'm
retain.
for it.
So a second
Yeah.
by Commissioner
And
Campbell.
And the cost of them is not extravagant.
How much is it?
The total is fees and expenses is $57,275.
$57,000 to come up with a definition. There you go.
I'm for
It's
it.
just a waste of money.
So there is a motion by Commissioner Lewis and a second by Commissioner Campbell with opposition from Commissioner Scremetta. So we will need a roll call vote on this one.
You do?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Chairman
So-
wants to ask,
Yes, sir.
this is a staff recommendation.
To retain E9
You need
Insight.
help. You need this help. You agree with
To
it?
gather the information, yes, sir. And
Okay.
E9 Insight's not writing any rules or policy for the commission. They're just the fact finders to present all of the information to staff. So staff can either recommend, yes, we do need rules to stop this, or we don't need rules because none of our utilities are already doing it.
And this consultant, yeah, who is this consultant?
E9 Insight, they're a fairly new consultant with us, but we have worked with them in the past. They helped us on SWEPCO's advanced metering docket. They're out of Boulder, Colorado,
Okay.
but they are within this regulatory realm. They are familiar with policy and state commissions.
all right.
Yes, sir.
I support the staff recommendation.
So roll call vote.
I'll withdraw my opposition. It's just a waste of time.
Okay, I think it's a unanimous vote. It's approved. What exhibit number was that?
That was Exhibit 15.
15. Exhibit 15 is approved, unanimous.
So exhibit number 16 is docket number S36813. It's FAS Environmental Services, application to file amended tariff for common carrier certificate number 7357B and 7985 to increase rates pursuant to general order dated October 2nd of 2012. It's a discussion and possible vote on a staff report and recommendation. On May 24th of 2023, FAS filed its application requesting authorization to increase its tariff rates pursuant to Commission General Order dated October 2nd of 2012. Notice of the application was published in the Commission's official bulletin and no interventions were filed. Following discovery on the application, staff filed its audit report and recommendation on December 11th of 2023, with counsel for FAS filed correspondence into the record indicating its acceptance of staff's recommendation. The major terms of staff's recommendation are that FAS is authorized to increase its transportation rate ranges for saltwater and waste by various methods to a range of $105 to $115 per hour, and that FAS is also authorized to establish an administration fee of 20% of the disposal charge and restructure of its fuel surcharge to a leveled percentage based on the cost of gas. Staff recommends that the Commission accept staff's recommendation filed into the record on December the 11th of 2023.
A motion to accept that staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, 16 is approved.
So Exhibit 17 will have two separate votes.
I've got a question for council on 17. So after the motion, I need to ask them to come.
Staff council or company?
Company council.
Okay. So Exhibit 17 is docket number U36552. It's Claiborne Electric Cooperative's application for approval of formula rate plan and modifications to base rates. We will have a discussion and possible vote on a joint partial stipulated settlement first, and then we will have a discussion and possible vote on an ALJ recommendation second. For the discussion and possible vote on a joint partial stipulated settlement, on October 12th of 2022, Claiborne filed an application with the commission seeking adjustment of base rates as well as the implementation of an FRP, which was published in the bulletin, and no interventions were filed. On April 28th, 2023, staff filed its direct testimony and report where it agreed that Claiborne should be authorized to implement an initial rate increase and recover prudently incurred cost. However, staff disagreed with the financial metric Claiborne requested be utilized to determine both the initial rate increase and to determine the coverage ratio in Claiborne's FRP. On May 31st, 2023, Claiborne filed rebuttal testimony. The parties began discussions to narrow the contested issues in the docket, and on August 28th, 2023, the parties filed a joint partial stipulated settlement where the parties stipulated that Claiborne is allowed to include an adjustment to normalize bad debt expense as requested in the company's application, and that the company be allowed to recover the known and measurable market-based wage realignment expense of $1,183,108, as well as other changes to Claiborne's tariff for fixed, non-recurring, and lighting charges. The rate adjustment itself and the structures of the FRP remain contested issues and is considered in a separate vote next. Staff recommends that the commission accept the joint partial stipulated settlement filed into the record on August 28, 2023.
Mark Brown, is he here? Mark Brown? Yes, you want to come up?
And don't you have a motion?
I do.
Yeah, we have a motion from Commissioner Campbell on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is Claiborne's office located?
Homer.
Downtown Homer? Right out in the suburbs? Okay.
Wait, you guys, wait till y'all get to the mics, please. And please introduce yourselves for the record.
Who you got with you there, Mark?
I'm sorry,
Who did you bring with you?
I'll let them introduce themselves.
All right.
I'm Rebecca Payne. I'm Vice President and Managing Consultant of CH Guernsey and Company. I was hired by Claiborne to be their rate consultant on the cost of service study and rate analysis.
All right.
And Kara Cantrell, counsel for Claiborne.
Okay.
Do you have your motions done?
I can read. So Commissioner Campbell's motion is, I move that the commission accept the partial stipulated settlement with the following modification, that with respect to the residential customer charge contained in the partial stipulated settlement, the monthly residential customer charge shall be $15.
$15, it was 16.
Correct.
Yeah, I represent these people.
Your mic.
What?
Mic.
Microphone.
I'm sorry. I represent these people, and they do a good job. And I'm gonna make a motion, we approve staff recommendation. I think every time I call, they call me back, and they keep the lights on. And they're trying to work with us every way. It's like any small co-op, they're having problems. But we gotta keep the lights on, and the people need them, and they're easy to work with. So I would, I wanna recommend staff recommendation. I'd move to accept it.
With your modification to the customer charge.
What?
With your modification.
Yeah, for $15, right.
I didn't understand the modification.
It went from 16 to 15.
Yeah, the customer charge, it
Cut 'em a
reduced it
dollar.
$1.
Customer charge.
For residential rate.
Yeah. Does every co-op have that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
Every co-op has that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you're cutting $1 off of the residential?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of what would the staff recommendation was.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll
Is,
second it, just to kind of.
I've got an attorney friend up in that area, Johnny Dollar. Does he work on that case with you guys or not? Okay.
He helps us on a lot of matters.
Okay, good. Okay, well,
I got a question.
okay, question by.
I've seconded it, just a second.
Okay.
Ms. Cantrell, we had a meeting in my office the other day, and by the way, Mr. Brown, welcome to the world of the energy efficiency program that you haven't been in for 8 years. Now we got to start talking about that and how it's going to impact your co-op. Because in all my discussions with all the utilities, we're looking at a rate increase as the energy efficiency program comes in of 3 to 5% across the board. And that's probably something that the co-ops have not contemplated through the 1803 element. So really what I'm looking at is, I know y'all are transitioning over to the 1803 program, I think Kara said March of '25?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the other thing I was looking at is the initial contemplation was the rates were going to go down from here in March of '25, right? I don't know, you tell me.
Yeah, I'll clarify that. The rates that we have proposed will not be changing. What will change, we expect Claiborne to see lower power cost as they become a member of 1803. So the pass-through of the power cost and the fuel cost we expect to be lower, which will result in lower bills to members. So the member impact should be lower as 1803 costs go into effect.
All right, so like say a person's bill is, I don't know, $100. What does their bill look to be after March 2025?
That's kind of a hard question to answer.
I'm going to ask more.
That's fine. We are anticipating fuel costs, so, and I guess I don't have the number on $100. We have some examples on a bill.
I'm just throwing it out as calculus.
So I have some examples of a bill at 1,000 kilowatt hours.
Okay.
We expect that with the new rate change, that we would see a reduction, all things that we know today.
Right.
Speculation and forecasting. That we would see a reduction of $7.44,
Okay.
I think was the number.
So,
yeah.
and percentage of the bill, what would you say the percentage of the bill is at?
It's
1%, 5%?
It's about, well, I think the January bill was $113, is that right? Yeah,
So what's the percentage?
so something less than 5, 6, 7%.
Okay, because they were talking 20%, well, a long time ago. But
Well,
no, my point of
there's
it
a
is.
distinction on the 20%, if
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can clarify that.
Yeah, okay, because I just want to apples and orange this.
Absolutely. I was not involved in the 1803 analysis or
Yeah.
any of that. What I have heard is that the co-ops were expecting a 20% reduction in power costs. That does not translate to a 20% reduction in bill impact, just to
Okay.
clarify that.
Okay.
Claiborne's is, what did you say, 11.3 cents per kilowatt hour? Is what you said?
Based on the December
Yeah, right.
cost. Yes, correct.
I'm looking at it.
Okay.
Yes.
And we all hope it goes down, and
Right.
some people disagreed, with the situation. I voted for it. I think it'll go down, and that'll be good.
Well, now we know with your entrance into the energy efficiency program that you're going to have rate increase because you're going to have expenses coming in that you didn't have before. So my question is, so what's your rate right now? Do you have a rate you apply, or is it, how do you, calculate?
Yeah, we have for a residential, for
Yeah.
all of our classes of
Well,
customers. but
tell
for
me
res-
about what your residential rate is.
So we have a $12 customer charge. I'm not sure what the energy charge is off the top of my head, but we apply a $12 customer charge to each account we bill, an energy charge based on the actual consumption, a power cost adjustment and a fuel cost adjustment to pass through the cost of our power costs from Clico Cajun, and a formula rate plan adjuster that's been in place. Has not changed for a few years, but since that last approved one, that's
Do you have
factors.
do you have a numerical rate that you have? Is there a number associated
Well,
with it?
All of those are numbers, so all of those components apply
Does
to
it-
different billing units and come up to the total bill of $113, for example, for
Okay.
December.
Well, see, what I'm looking at, and this is more, I'm not doing gotcha day. What I'm trying to get to get to an understanding is, we had anticipated savings, anticipated, change. This is changing now because of the costs associated with this. It's probably going to be, something you need to look at. I would like you, and I guess everybody in the room from other co-ops that are here, I want y'all to go now and start looking at what the costs of being in energy efficiency things, because a lot of people say we're going to save money. Well, it's not the way it works. If you're going to spend $150 million, it costs more. So y'all going to have to recover the cost. It's going to be, you've got to do this. And so you're going to be coming to ask for more money. I want to know by the time you get to March of 2025, and really, if you're going to be applying the cost of energy efficiency, and the staff is going to have to tell me when you're going to start paying this, because I guess they don't even know, because does this happen after the administrator's hired? Does this happen now, or whenever this does take place? You're going to have other costs associated with this, and I want to know when it's going to happen, I want to know how much it's going to be, and I want you to come back and make a report to the commission in public. You can come and talk to us in advance of the meeting, but I want you and all the other co-ops to come tell us what's going to be. Okay? That's it. Thank you.
So, pull the trigger.
Sorry, we through here?
I'm
All righty, well, looks like we don't have any opposition to this.
No opposition.
We got a motion and a second, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we got 2 votes, put us under 57.
No, partial settlement and then.
Oh, we got 2 votes under one Exhibit 17.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second for the stipulation. And assuming there's no opposition, we can move on to the discussion and possible vote on the ALJ rec.
Yeah, there you go.
You lost
I
me.
made the motion, staff recommendation.
You did,
There was
yes.
one little amendment, we moved it from
Yes.
16 to 15, and we ready to vote?
Okay, we have,
Yeah, well, and Commissioner Scarmetta seconded it
okay,
already.
there's Schemata seconded, so is there any opposition? So in hearing none, it's unanimous vote. Or the second one is on the ALJ's recommendation.
Yes, sir. It's a discussion and possible vote on the
So
ALJ
I'll make that motion.
recommendation.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by, is there any opposition to that? Hearing none, that also passes, so we're through with Exhibit 17.
Thank
Exhibit
you.
18.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Exhibit 18 is docket number U36604. This is National Water Infrastructure's application for approval of a Hurricane Ida recovery rate rider. Is a discussion and possible vote on an uncontested joint report and draft order. And as there are no unresolved issues, staff recommends that the commission accept the joint report and issue the draft order filed into the docket on January the 11th of 2024.
Motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
Here we got a recommendation by Commissioner Lewis, second by Commissioner Scametta. Is there any opposition or discussion? Hearing none, 18 passed.
Exhibit number 19 is docket number U36685. This is Entergy's request for certification and approval of its 2022 solar portfolio, including eligibility for inclusion in the company's Go Green option. It's a discussion and possible vote on an uncontested partial stipulated settlement pursuant to Rule 57, so this will also need 2 votes. And staff recommends that the commission take the matter up pursuant to Rule 57 and approve the uncontested partial stipulated settlement agreement filed into the record on January the 11th of 2024.
Move to bring the matter up under Rule 57.
I'll second.
Move for 57 for Scametta, seconded by Commissioner Lewis. And I'll make the motion that we accept staff recommendation.
Second.
And Commissioner Scametta seconded. So Exhibit 19, is there any discussion or opposition? Hearing none, Exhibit 19 passed.
Exhibit number 20 is docket number U36686. It's Louisiana Water Company's 2022 test year formula rate plan annual report. It's a discussion and possible vote on a joint report and draft order. And staff recommends that as there are no unresolved issues, that the commission accept the joint report and issue the draft order filed into the record on January 9th, 2024.
Motion to accept staff's recommendation.
And I'll second that.
I just have a comment other than, my understanding is that this was based on a increase in the price of lime
Yes.
for treatment. And I think it's important, I think we deferred the discussion on inflation.
Correct.
But this would have been an element in the discussion of inflation, because even though we're finding that, we began this discussion of inflation since I think we first brought it up during an ACNIS meeting in 21, I think. This is something that we have to start paying more particular attention to because of the downrange impact of inflation. Even if we're seeing numbers like 12%, 11%, we're seeing actual impacts of costs in 30% and 40% downrange impact of inflation. And it's something that we've asked companies to be more diligent about. But here we see a direct impact of rate impact from singularly because of inflationary costs of materials. So I just wanted to, say this more associated with the other companies, that they need to be vigilant on their components and materials associated with their process, because these are the kind of things that sneak up on you and hit you, and then therefore hit the consumer. So move to approve.
I might add that I'm familiar with the lime situation in the Katy Parish area with LAFCO. LAFCO's done a good job in that area, but these costs of the lime have really gone up. It's just, it's inflation, so I'm support. Is there any, we got a motion? Who's the motion?
We do. A motion by Commissioner Lewis and you seconded it.
Okay, is there any opposition? Hearing none, Exhibit 20 passed.
Exhibit number 21 is docket number U36716. This is Greater Washita's request for approval of an increase in water and sewer rates and line item charges, letter of non-opposition to bond issuance, and reservation of rights to request interim relief. It's a discussion and possible vote on an uncontested stipulated settlement. As there are no unresolved issues, staff recommends that the commission approve the uncontested stipulated settlement filed into the record on November 13th of 2023.
Who's their attorney?
This is,
Ms. Tunion is, I think, the lead on it.
Okay, never mind.
I'd like to make a motion, we accept staff recommendation. These people do a good job. They're a nonprofit, and they do a good job. They take care of the business up there. I don't ever have to have a lot of complaints. And it's like everybody else, they got budget problems, and they need this to survive, to be honest with you. I looked at it real close, and staff agrees, so I would ask that you support this.
Motion by Campbell. to
I'll second.
accept Staff recommendation, seconded by Mr. Lewis. Any opposition or discussion? Hearing none, 21 passed.
Exhibit number 22 is docket number U36718. This is the Commission's audit of the Federal Environmental Adjustment Clause filings of CLECO Power for the period of January 2020 through December of 2022. It's a discussion and possible vote on an uncontested joint report and draft order. And as there are no unresolved issues, staff recommends that the Commission accept that joint report and draft order filed into the docket on November 30th of 2023.
Move to accept the staff recommendation.
Commissioner Shubata moves to accept staff recommendation. Chair seconds. Is there any discussion?
I'll
or
second it.
opposition?
Okay, you seconded it, go ahead.
Yeah.
No objection.
Okay. It's so, 22 is passed.
Exhibit number 23 is docket number U37067. This is the Commission's evaluation of Southwestern Electric Power Company's decision to retire the Perky Power Plant pursuant to Commission Order number U36385-A. It's a discussion and possible vote to retain United Professionals Company. Staff recommends that the Commission retain United Professionals Company for $145,000 in fees and $7,500 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $152,500 due to a scope expansion.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
I'll second.
And hire not staff recommendation, to hire United Professionals, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did y'all put that out for bids?
We did not put this one out for a bid. It was considered more of a scope expansion from SWEPCO's certification
Okay,
that
I got
was
you.
recently hired.
I got it.
Recommended by
Staff.
staff,
Right.
approved by Shubata, seconded by Mr. Lewis. And any opposition or questions? Hearing none, 23 is passed.
Under exhibit number 24, the discussion section is deferred, but there is a directive. It's a directive to staff regarding potential amendments to the definition of transmission facilities as established in the Commission's transmission siting order dated October 10th, 2013. It's at the request of Commissioner Campbell. And his directive is, I direct staff to publish for comments in the next bulletin an amended definition of transmission facilities established by the Transmission Siting General Order dated October 13th, 2023 to further clarify and preserve Commission's jurisdiction over transmission projects located within the state of Louisiana.
I'd make a motion that we,
No motion.
Yeah, no motion,
You
as
don't
long as
need a
there's no,
motion.
as long as there's no opposition, it
Okay.
passes.
And this doesn't impact current
Is there any
docket?
No,
opposition?
sir.
Okay.
Any opposition to Commissioner Campbell's request? Hearing none, it's approved. So we're up to 25?
Yes, sir. Exhibit number 25 is docket number S36990. It's CLECO Power's request for authorization of a purchase power agreement between EnLink Processing Services, a qualifying cogeneration facility, and CLECO Power, including request for authorization of an interconnection agreement for the same. It's a discussion and possible vote on staff's report and recommendation at the request of Commissioner Skrmetta, and staff recommends that the Commission accept staff's report and recommendation filed into the record on January 19th, 2024.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
I second it.
Commissioner Skrmetta moves that we accept staff recommendation, and seconded by Commissioner Campbell. Any discussion or is there any opposition? Hearing none, Exhibit 25 passed.
Exhibit 26 is docket number U36190. This is Entergy Louisiana's application for certification and approval of the 2021 solar portfolio, Rider Go Green option, cost recovery, and related relief. It's a discussion and possible vote on a staff report and recommendation at the request of Commissioner Lewis. And staff recommends that the commission accept staff's report and recommendation filed into the record on January 19th of 2024.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Commissioners, come out of recommendation to accept Exhibit 26, seconded by Commissioner Campbell. I see Ms. Evans is on that case. Got any comments, anything for that?
Lauren Evans on behalf of staff, no.
Okay, well, want to make sure you weren't sleeping over there. If there's no opposition,
She knows what time it is.
Yeah.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Move to adjourn in a second. Is there any opposition to that? Hearing none, we're open.
That's why.